Today I effed up by being a confused teenager and effing up my relationship as an adult. Technically speaking, this happened more than a decade ago, but the mess up was dormant until a few days ago. I was a teenager when my friend and I came up with this idea to write a list of life goals on a piece of paper for our older selves. We placed our papers inside a lockable box without showing each other what we wrote. My friend was the more responsible one between the two of us, and least likely to prematurely open the box in private, so we both agreed that he was going to keep the box and store it somewhere in his mum and dad's basement until we were old enough to open the box together. Life went on, and eventually we forgot about the box. Fast forward to my friend's father's passing away, which left my friend with the house that he grew up in, but no living parents. My friend made plans to turn the house into an Airbnb. I got an unexpected call from him a few weeks ago. We were no longer as close, so phone calls between us were somewhat uncommon. He informed me about his dad, the house, and then he mentioned what he found in his mum and dad's basement, the box. I encouraged my friend to open the box at that moment and read what we wrote while we were on the phone, but he suggested that we make it more meaningful by meeting up and reading it in person. Cut to the two of us becoming the four of us at the meeting because our girlfriends also became invested and involved. So, there we all were, at my friend's parents' house, enjoying good food and good company. When the time came to open the box, everyone expressed their excitement. My friend and I totally forgot what we wrote, so all of us were going in blind. A toolbox was required to open the box because the key for the padlock was nowhere to be found. My friend gave me his list, and I gave him mine. Our girlfriends wanted it that way. I was the first to read. My friend had the following things on his list. 1. Fix my teeth. 2. Make money. 3. Learn other languages. 4. Travel. 5. Learn to cook. 6. Eat healthy. 7. Lose my virginity. 8. Study. 9. Teach. And 10. Continue skateboarding until I die. My friend's list was fun for everyone. However, my friend seemed hesitant to read my list. As soon as he said it might be better if I read my list in private, all of us, including me, egged him on to just read the effing thing. My friend reluctantly read the following out loud. 1. Tell Josh I want to be his bottom. Oh no, that's so bad. That was literally all I wrote. My friend, aka Josh, flipped the piece of paper so that all of us could see the drawing I made of the two of us banging. No one seemed to know how to react. I attempted to break the awkward silence by pointing out that I was obviously joking when I wrote that. Were you? Were you really? My friend backed me up and said that it was totally in character for teenage me to make gay jokes at inappropriate times. Everyone kind of filed my list under boys will be boys and laughed it off. That being said, my girlfriend was not laughing during our drive home. She was too busy questioning me about my sexuality. She didn't stop with the questions until I finally confessed that I was in fact bisexual, which is something I've never actually shared with anyone. Needless to say, that revelation created tension between us, even though I've assured her that I'm not attracted to anyone else but her. Pessimism is telling me that I should brace myself for a breakup. In the comments, honestly though, if she breaks up with you because you were bi and weren't ready to come out of the closet yet, she wasn't the one for you. And OP says, agreed. If we end up going our separate ways, then we were not as meant for each other as I originally thought we were. Another commenter says, seeing Josh again, did you feel more than friends, even if it's potentially one-sided? OP says, short answer, kind of. Long answer, seeing him triggered years of memories, and each memory prompted a specific feeling. But most of what I was feeling was within the boundaries of our friendship. The suppressed memories I had of how attracted I was towards him as a teenager did creep in, and for a brief moment, I did allow myself to appreciate how attractive he still was, but didn't feel anything that I would classify as blurring the lines of our friendship. I just think that that is hilarious and unfortunate as well. If she breaks up with you for being bisexual, that's very much her problem. And as unfortunate as it is that some people will feel as though, you lied by omission by not telling them from the get-go that you were bisexual, if they loved you up until that point, I feel as though that's something incredibly minor. They loved everything else about you, but the fact that you're bisexual now is like, you have double the opportunity to cheat, and that changes my perspective on you. I get why people think like that, but I still think it's wrong. Yes, people are entitled to their own preferences, and they don't have to date a bisexual man if they don't want to. It's just that if you're that far invested into a relationship, it just feels like a bad reason to break up. That's just my bias, and that's just my opinion. But I get that it can also be seen as, what else are you hiding from me? How many other lies of omission are you going to keep from me, Can I trust you? And that is also valid, so that becomes a tricky situation. And now, on to the update. So my girlfriend appears to be ghosting me now. Her responses to my messages have gone from one-word comments that took her forever to send to nothing at all. My friend, on the other hand, has not stopped messaging me ever since the event in the previous post. Between my girlfriend ghosting me and my friend bombarding me with follow-up questions, I definitely feel like I effed up as a teenager when I decided to leave a note to my future self that exposed my sexuality. My friend sent me multiple messages to inform me that he's still friends with some of our former high school mates. He's made me aware of that fact because he wanted me to understand why it made sense for him to share our decades-old list of life goals with other people. I had no problem with that at first because I assumed that everyone who knew me in high school would laugh at my list and add it to all of the other dumb shit that I've said and done as a teenager. According to my friend, our former high school buddies did in fact laugh, but they also added my gay joke or gag or whatever to their own little list of clues that apparently made them all doubt my straightness throughout high school. My friend said that nothing about me ever made him question my sexuality, but he was beginning to feel like he might have missed something because it seemed like he was the only person in our circle of friends who never connected the dots. I didn't know how to respond to that, but I managed to answer every question he had for me as truthfully as possible. Yes, it was more than just a gay joke. Yes, I wanted to be more than friends. No, I didn't know our friends realized I had an inner twink. No, our friendship didn't fizzle out after high school because I had feelings for you. Yes, I'm into girls and guys. I could go on and on. My friend apologized for putting me on the spot and promised that he was going to make an effort to spend more time with me in person so that he can learn more about what makes me me. Like old times. But gayer, I guess. Like old times, but gayer. We all need some of that. He also joked about hooking me up with his male friends in case my relationship comes to an end. The last few days have been an emotionally exhausting experience. I unintentionally came out twice now. So much for waiting until I'm ready. In the comments, OP on his girlfriend needing to check herself on this topic. He says, "She's making me feel like the bad guy for being bi. Last time I checked, I'm still the same person." OP on being forced to go into details when he wasn't ready to come out. You're right. Part of me did want to get it off my chest. I would have preferred if it was planned, but it seems the universe ran out of patience. It's totally possible that my girlfriend might be homophobic, but I'm not 100% sure about that. What I'm definitely sure of is the fact that my girlfriend is insecure. Instead of seeing me as someone who chose her out of all of the girls and guys, it appears that she now chooses to see me as the person who might leave her for all the girls and guys. It's too late in the year for this shit. By the end of 2024, I want everyone who knows the truth about my sexuality to approach it the same way that my former high school friends apparently did, which is to continue treating me like I'm still me. OP on deserving better after the situation with his girlfriend. I think the end of our relationship is unavoidable at this point. I want to believe that all my girlfriend needs is time to adjust and realize that she has no reason to freak the hell out like this, but my heart is telling me to pull the plug as soon as possible. Yeah, it's over, OP. It just feels like it's over. If she is pulling away that much and ghosting you, it's over. She doesn't need time to process things. She would have told you that she needed time to process things and will make a decision and come back, but She's not done any of that. She's just pulled away with no explanation for her behavior. And it's all over you being bisexual. It's obvious that she's not okay with that. It's time to just block her and move on, I think. Do you even need an explanation from her? Like, what are you standing to gain from that conversation at this point? She obviously doesn't respect you. I mean, you can respect her in the transition from boyfriend to ghost if you would like, but I don't think she deserves that grace. I think you should just pull the plug as soon as possible, as you said. But as always, that's my opinion. I'd love to know your guys' opinions down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. It's very much appreciated. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend that I won't be following his family's traditions? Me, 21 female, and my boyfriend, let's call him Alex, 23 male, have been dating for about 3 years now. We've recently began talking about marriage and kids, something we both eventually want to have. The other day, a reel popped up on my For You page of cute boy names, and I saw the name Everett. I thought that it was adorable, and I jokingly told him about how it has to be our firstborn's name. He laughed and said that he liked it, but it'll have to wait for the second kid. I was confused and asked him why. He told me that his family has a tradition that every firstborn boy in the family has the same name. His oldest brother has it, his uncle has it, his grandfather has it, and so on. For the sake of privacy and how oddly unique the name is, I'm not going to say it. I'm not judging in the slightest, but this is a weird name, and it's honestly not my favorite. I would never say that to any of his family members, but I did tell Alex that I'm not a huge fan of it. I told him that I don't really want to follow those footsteps, and he got upset and told me that he can't be the one to break the tradition. He told me that I was being an asshole for suggesting anything else. I told him I won't change my mind, and we should make it a middle name or find another compromise. Alex has 5 siblings. The tradition will continue if he doesn't do it, and frankly, I think I should get a say in what I name my kid. I told him since I'm the one carrying the hypothetical child for 9 months, and it would already be getting Alex's last name, I should have some say in the first name. For context, I have 2 siblings, both girls. I'm the youngest, and my eldest sisters are both married and took their husbands' last names. It makes me a little sad that when I marry Alex, my last name will go out of existence. I've talked to him about hyphenating ours, something that he doesn't want to do. But anyways, I really don't want to name our firstborn son, if we ever even have a boy, that name. He thinks I'm whining for no reason since we don't even have a kid yet, and I'm not pregnant, but I think my concerns are valid. I've told some friends about it, and most of them think I'm overreacting over something that doesn't even exist yet. So, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend that I don't want to follow his family's tradition? In the comments, that's a great conversation to have before marriage and kids. You get to decide if this is a deal breaker for you. What other subjects does he believe that you have no say in? And OP says, the thing is, we get along great. We've had minor disagreements, but never argued over anything this big until now. For all the people saying break up, he's a really great guy. He thinks my last name is weird, which to be quite honest, it is. It doesn't make me any less sad about eventually losing it. This is our first big argument, and I think it's why I'm at such a loss. It's always, oh, he's so great except for this one thing. Newsflash, OP, if you guys can't get through arguments like this, you guys are not compatible. Everything else may be perfect, but if compromise on big arguments cannot happen, stop deluding yourself. Another commenter says, and not even his own name, his big brother's name. Is every kid meant to name their first son that name? All the cousins are Gustavo or whatever? And OP says, all oldest sons are supposed to have it. His dad wasn't the oldest son, so yes, a bunch of his nephews will all hold the same name at some point. Someone else replies, that's what I wondered too. I feel like he doesn't even understand his own tradition. I think it's just one per generation, not every firstborn to every sibling. And OP says, that's what I thought too, until I met him. It's not a culture thing, as I've politely asked. If it was, I'd be a lot more understanding. It's just an odd tradition. Someone else asks, my question is, if all of his siblings follow this tradition, won't there be like 4 to 5 kids with the same name in the same family within the same age range? That would already have me saying no. Can you imagine going to a family get-together and trying to call for your son, and his 4 other cousins also come running because they have the same name? No thank you, not the asshole. And OP says, yes there would. And I've pointed that out, and he's admitted to me that sometimes it was annoying on family camping trips when he'd yell his cousin's name and 3 others would turn around. Which confuses me because why would he want to continue that? Answers to various questions, OP says, we've talked about at least 2 kids close in age later in life. Right now, we live pretty close to his family. My family lives on the other side of the country. I've expressed moving closer to my family when I finish nursing school, something he hasn't expressed interest in. His family is very religious, while I'm not. Alex isn't really either, and he's moved away from it as he's gotten older. Someone else asks, it's a tradition in your, and most family, that the kids have a unique name chosen by their parents, lol. Why would his tradition be more important? Why would he unilaterally choose a name? Also, if you want, you can keep your last name. OP says, I know that, but he finds the idea of me eventually taking his romantic, and I do too. It's complicated, and maybe I do sound like I'm whining for no reason. I like his last name plenty. It's just the idea of mine twinkling out of existence makes me a little sad. And if none of my kids could take it, it wouldn't matter that I kept it. It would still be gone one day. Well, the issue isn't the name. The issue is your boyfriend's attitude towards you having ideas that differ from his. He dismisses your wants and puts his family tradition ahead of you. To him, it's not even a discussion. That's actually a little scary. You give 2 examples of him being inflexible, your last name and a baby name. I'll bet that you can think of other incidents that fit this pattern too. This is a glimpse into your future. Are you sure you want the rest of your life to look like this? And OP says, we don't argue really at all, but we've had one big argument in our relationship and he's already ignoring me too. Oh my god. He's been sleeping in the guest room and won't talk to me when I try to sit down. An hour before I posted this, he texted me saying that he needed space and that was it. I don't want to lose him and I don't know where else I can go to, so I came here. I just want to thank you all for your comments and support. I didn't know that I could get this much advice, and I'm beyond grateful for it. It's given me a lot to think about. Back up to the post, there is a mini update. I have no idea how to make an update, but I feel like I owe it all to you to make one when the time comes, so please let me know how. As of right now, I just texted him and told him that when he gets home from work, we need to have a serious conversation, and I have some important things to tell him. I'm not really sure what those are yet, but I'm going to find a way to start the convo. This is a great way to fix the situation. I believe that. I believe that having that serious, sit-down, transparent conversation with him will clear up any and all misunderstandings. But from the way that you have conveyed his behavior, how you guys have interacted with disagreements over the years, I genuinely don't see this going well. He recognizes that, yeah, it's a bit stupid to have so many cousins named this exact same name, yet he doesn't see a problem with it. So he doesn't care. He doesn't want to change it. He wants to continue it. I don't think he's going to listen to you. You changing your last name or not is completely up to you, but I imagine if you say you want to keep your last name, he's going to be like, the hell you are? As well as the fact that your family lives on the other side of the country, you want to move back there, and he doesn't want to move away from his family. Even though he's not as religious, but you haven't said that he's not religious anymore. There's just so many conflicting things, and it feels as though he wants everything that he wants, and he doesn't want to listen to what you want, especially when it's big blow-ups like this. You're only 21, you have so much time ahead of you. If this doesn't work out, that's not the end of the world. There's going to be more people to get married to and have babies with that will not force you to do what they say and then ghost you or sleep on the guest bed for that? Like, that's just incredibly childish behavior from him. So no, you're not the asshole for telling your boyfriend that you won't be following his family's traditions. And now, onto the update. So we talked. I pulled him aside after he finished work, and we sat down and had a long conversation. I told him that I felt hurt that he doesn't seem to be caring about my feelings, and that I never intended for a joke about TikTok names to turn into all of this. I took your guys' advice and was really honest with him, telling him how I was really sad by the fact that I would lose my last name when we did eventually get married. At first he seemed confused and said that if it really mattered that much to me, I could just keep my last name and our kids could have his. I told him that it seemed counterproductive to keep my last name because one day I would still die, and so would the name. He asked me what I wanted to do about it, and we ended up compromising that our first son would have a shortened version of the traditional name that runs in his family. Not a nickname, but we would literally just shorten the name and that would be his. And along with that, when we eventually do get married, we will hyphenate last names. I will admit that Reddit got me a little in my head and had me thinking that we would break up over this, so I was pretty emotional during the conversation. I know this isn't the super exciting update that you guys wanted. I also showed him the post and he read some of the comments. This is a direct quote from him, something he wanted me to tell you guys. Thanks for helping OP while I was being a dick. I don't really think he was being a dick now that I've seen his side, but he's also worried that he has people after him now. He's a really sweet guy, and this wasn't anything to break up over. When we talked, he expressed that he was hurt because as much as the tradition seemed silly, it was something that he had always been looking forward to eventually doing. We are not engaged yet, but I have a feeling something might happen this Christmas. We'll see. But yeah, I cannot believe how much that post blew up, and you guys really helped me and Alex out. Thank you for all of the support. In the comments, Miss Fia says, I'm personally happy when I see an update with no drama. I'm glad that you were able to discuss it and compromise. It's a good sign for your relationship. External expert says, if he was uncompromising, I think it would totally be breakup worthy. Fortunately, it ended up completely different, and that's awesome. You both listened to each other and came up with a plan. As long as he doesn't call you an asshole and a whiner moving forward, then this is solid. So you're telling me that you two sat down, had a mature conversation, and worked out your differences? Well, damn. Overall, good update, and I agree that Reddit is big on the instant breakup reaction. However, I do think this should serve as a wake-up call to him that it's time to grow up and really understand the position that y'all are in. If you're looking to get married, he has to realize that you are becoming adults and he should act like one. When my wife expresses a concern, especially about children, that concern is as important, if not more important to me than any concern I have. I'm sure he can grow and realize it, but better sooner rather than later. Cutie Babooty says, it kind of really pisses me off that her partner is so insistent about a traditional name that he has connection to, but seemed unable to grasp about why OP would feel sad about losing a name that she has connection to. Dreamsnaps replies, yeah, but see, she's a woman. No, the lack of empathy isn't a great sign, but he's 23, so there is time for him to grow, hopefully. Shalexies replies, nor is his family as very religious while I'm not. Run the hell away from those cuckoos. That compromise is simply him shifting the center of discussion in his direction. They get closer to naming the kid, and it's gonna be, we should just name him Mervis while calling him Murray, then it'll be different from the rest. His acceptance of her last name won't survive his family's objections because it's not how their religion does it, and he will get hassled over it from the time the ink is dry on their marriage license. And I kind of agree with that as well. I don't feel like this is the compromise that you two want in the situation, because to me that his family is very religious while I'm not, sorry, that's a red flag for me. He's been expressing like really odd behavior that I personally would not vibe with in a partner, being like, all these family names that every oldest son has to abide by is important and there is no room for compromise on that. Like, It's gotta be Mormons, right? That's Mormonism right there. Are they naming everyone Joseph? Like, they're shortening it to Joe? Oh man, that's such a huge compromise you guys got there. I'm happy that OP was able to compromise with him like that. It doesn't feel like this arrangement favors her at all, and it's going to be interesting when marriage is brought to the table and the naming tradition is broken in the family's eyes. I just don't see that going well. But that seems to be years away from now, and we'll see if she comes back to Reddit ever and is like, well, you guys were right, or you guys were wrong and my life is amazing. Looking forward to the conclusion of that if it ever does happen. Thank you for sharing the story, OP. I very much appreciate it, and good luck. Absolutely good luck going forward. I'd love to know what you guys have to think about this one down in the comments below. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My 29 male, cousin 34 male, is acting increasingly inappropriate with my wife and mother of my 2 kids, 28 female, who used to strip. Sent her a love letter. 8 years ago, my cousin Joe was getting married. He invited me to his bachelor party. It was me and a bunch of his weird friends that I was uncomfortable around. I spent the whole night nursing a beer waiting for it to end. Towards the end of the night, his best man, whose name I can't even remember, had 2 strippers come. I hated the idea, so I continued to nurse the beer while the girls entertained them. A week later, while I was at the gym, a pretty girl that I couldn't quite place comes up to me and starts making small talk. I ask how I know her, and she says that she was the entertainment at a party that I was at. I was surprised by how different she looked compared to that night, but long story short, I end up asking her out. Her fake name is going to be Audrey. It turns out that Audrey had only been stripping for a few months. I believed her, and her friends have confirmed it, and she ends up quitting a few weeks after we start dating. I was clearly uncomfortable with it, and she didn't really like it. She's never been ashamed about it, but we haven't told anyone in our family about it, and Joe's kept his mouth shut because I asked him to. She's still friends with some of the girls who still strip, and I think that some of my friends put 2 and 2 together, but haven't been rude or anything. Just made the usual, I'm jealous jokes. Anyways, we've had 2 great kids. A son who is 5 and a daughter who is 3, and we're thinking about having 1 or 2 more. Joe's always been super quiet around Audrey, probably because of how they met, until recently after his divorce. He started complimenting my wife's physical appearance, like every time he sees her. I've told him to lay off, but he hasn't so far. One incident in particular where he said something about kids not ruining her figure really pissed me off, and I bowed up on him and he apologized saying he was drunk. We were at a family barbecue. I calmed down and realized that I wasn't going to beat his ass in front of my whole extended family and my kids, and I told him not to talk to my wife again. This has really come to a head where he sent my wife a love letter asking her to leave me and to start a life with him. She sent a reply email just saying, no thank you. Oh my god. What do I do here? I love my family. I love my extended family, and I want her to be comfortable around them, and she can't be with Joe there. Audrey doesn't want me to tell my family that he's making her uncomfortable because she's afraid that Joe will let out the fact that she used to be a stripper. I told her I'd be okay with it, but she's pretty adamant on not wanting them to know. Another thing, Joe hasn't done anything that would require legal action. He's been acting like a teenager with a crush, and my wife admitted that she doesn't feel like she's in any kind of danger. I told her that we need to watch him carefully, but I don't know if there is much that we can do on this front. My wife has just been terrified that he's going to tell my family. I've been there for her the best I can. She's afraid that one day our kids could find out if the whole family learns. I would love advice on this whole horrible situation. Monteron87TD says, do you think that your family will be terribly upset if they find out that your wife used to do some stripping to pay her way through college? I'd say pull a David Letterman and beat your cousin to the punch. You just have to convince your wife of that. Maybe start with 1 or 2 that you definitely trust, and then go from there? OP replies, my family is really religious. They've always been the hate the sin, love the sinner kind of people, so I feel like they'd be kind. they are pretty accepting. I've talked to my wife about letting people know, but she is dead set against it. Deleted says, "You say he hasn't done anything overly dangerous, but I'd say that the letter is a huge red flag. He is clearly obsessed with your wife in a way that goes far beyond a high school crush, and he isn't being respectful of her, you, or your marriage. I'm not sure what you can do for now, other than to make it clear to him that his behavior is unacceptable, but you should be prepared for this to escalate. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but if I were you or your wife, I would be very worried. I think your wife stripping will come out no matter what. If you keep getting upset with Joe, he'll eventually spill the beans. At that point, you'll either have to tell the truth or lie. I think you need to expose Joe to your family for being the creep that he is. I'm sure that even if he does tell about your wife stripping, it won't matter much because of what he's doing." Yeah, genuinely, I understand that you're in such a hard spot because you do have to respect your wife's wishes of her not being comfortable with it, but I think that it's going to come out whether she wants it to or not. You have to get it through to her that it's better that you guys do it and then show what your cousin has been doing that is so unhinged and dangerous so that they're on your side and he doesn't get to twist the narrative. That man deserves to be publicly humiliated and dragged through the street for this unhinged behavior. What's wrong with him? Sending a love letter and you're like, well, it's not, it's just schoolyard love bombing. It's not that bad. It's bad. Sending a love letter to your wife is bad. Him saying all that shit at the barbecue, that's really bad. You need to recognize that, and he needs to be shamed out of the community. Please stop collectively gaslighting yourself into thinking the danger levels are not as high as they should be. And now, onto the updates. Yesterday, my wife and I decided to show my parents Joe's email love letter. We've learned a lot of things. 1. Joe has apparently seduced another one of our cousin's wives, as well as his uncle's wife. Joe's uncle is only 5 years older than him. Both times he sent a love letter, and both times ignored them afterwards. I don't know why, but both of those couples are still together, all of them are religious, so maybe it has something to do with not wanting to get divorced. 2. The reason Joe got a divorce was because he would not stop cheating on his wife. 3. Joe came to his parents and the older family members, who I'll refer to as the old guard, facetiously, and asked for help after being caught with a cousin's wife, saying he was sorry and that he had a problem. They decided to forgive him, but put rules in place. 4. My parents knew about Audrey. Joe had told his mum, who told my mum and her sister, and my mum told my dad. Audrey started crying at 4, but my parents gave her a hug and told her that they didn't care. It was great, and after some tears, we went back to our house. A babysitter was watching the kids. My parents told me that the old guard was going to talk to Joe. Apparently, Joe told everyone there about Audrey by trying to say that her being around set him back. Everyone didn't know, except for my parents and Joe's parents. He claimed that she made the first move. He also said that he slept with her on Tuesday while I was at work. That was completely false because I had started working from home a month ago. I was at home all day with my wife. Just to be clear, there is no way that she has been having an affair with him. I think the longest we've been apart this month has been an hour when she gets groceries, and he claimed Tuesday was the first time. The fallout has been horrible. Apparently, I was already the black sheep. And no, not the effing sexual deviant, because my family doesn't go to church. We've received various messages denouncing us. The worst being from the parents of Lisa. Lisa is like a sister to me. Her parents moved in with mine and we live together. Lisa turned 17 recently, and her parents aren't allowing her to be at our house anymore. She used to come over all the time. My wife is crushed. I've been holding her as much as I can, and I know that our kids are making her feel better, but she told me that her worst nightmare came true. She still thinks going to my parents was the right idea though. My parents are still supporting us, and the younger group who aren't living with their parents won't cut us out. I've pretty much written off the rest of the family. I'll try to have my parents explain that she had nothing to do with Joe, but if they don't listen, they don't listen. Lisa also doesn't believe it, but besides a text saying that she doesn't want to stop being around us, we haven't heard from her. Croton Chick says, "How the hell are you the bad guy in this? OP, I'm so sorry that this was the outcome, but good job standing by your wife, and yay for your parents." When You Know says, "He's the bad guy because the older family group is appalled that he ended up with a stripper. This old group cannot see past this completely horrible and horrendous career that his wife has to see that she sounds like a really awesome wife and a wonderful mother to the kids." Likely, it's the older conservative mindset, which is a terrible mindset and wrong to begin with, which is making OP look like a bad guy in front of this older group. Best chance, but honestly, who cares? If these people cannot get a grip on reality, it's their loss because OP and OP's wife sound awesome, is that the younger group, who is still in contact with the older group, will get them to come around. Croton Chick says, "I understand all of that, but it's still baffling considering that his family also knows about his cousin's behavior." And OP says, "He's going to church with them. He went to them for help. I guess he's the prodigal son, while I'm unrepentant." Someone asks, "Did Joe really sleep with those other wives?" And OP says, "No, he did sleep with them. Both women have admitted to it, according to my parents, and I guess he got frustrated that he couldn't with mine." And Can't Be Mine replies, "Interesting how the stripper seems to have better morals than the holier-than-thous, huh? I'm really sad for your sweet wife that a grade-A sack of donkey shit like Joe happened to her, but I'm incredibly glad that she has you in her corner." That's just how some people are going to be. There's going to be the in-group, and there's going to be the permanent out-group now, it seems like. Tribalism is a hell of a drug. But in this case, these people have all revealed, their convictions, how they see the world. If they're a group of people that will forgive this guy for going in and sleeping with everyone, not actually breaking families apart, but doing serious damage to everyone, sending love letters, trying to sleep with OP's wife, knowingly doing as much psychological damage as he can, and then knowing that he's going to be forgiven if he goes to church with them, is that a community that you really want in your life? Is that a village that is going to raise those children? As much as that loss sucks to have to take in, it honestly, is it not better to just stay away from those people? Are those the kind of values you want in your own life? And are those the values you want to teach your kids? Because if I was in your shoes, OP, I would stay the hell away from them. They serve negative value to my life. They only stand to enable abusers and forgive abusers and not hold them accountable for their actions. Understandably, losing that much family is a huge loss, but at least you keep those that value you, value your wife, and value your kids in your parents. Maybe things can change in the future, but who knows? Regardless, thank you for sharing the story with us. I'm sure the community greatly appreciates it as well. And I'd love to know what you guys, the community, have to say about this one down in the comments. I've been informed by a solicitor that my husband is having an affair. Yesterday morning, I was contacted by a solicitor. I was confused because I don't have any need for one for anything. She told me that her client is seeking divorce from his wife due to the wife having an affair. Their investigator found the affair is with my husband, and the client asked the solicitor to inform me since my husband is married. She provided me with proof of the affair. My brother-in-law is to be married on Saturday, my husband is the best man, and is already there to assist with everything. Me and my 5-month-old daughter were supposed to leave on Friday morning to join them. My husband is unaware that I know. I am shocked, but the proof is right in front of my eyes. I haven't told anyone, but I have asked my sister to come over after work. I'm going to ask if my daughter and me can stay with her. I don't think that I can face him at the wedding. I don't want to hear excuses. My sister's husband is a solicitor, and while he doesn't do divorces, I will ask if he can recommend someone. I have to talk to my sister, but I'm mostly just getting my thoughts out on here because I feel entirely scattered. OP on if the solicitor who contacted her is a real and licensed person to inform her about the affair. OP says, yes, of course. The solicitor who contacted me is a licensed solicitor. The proof was not photographic but included videos, voicemails, and receipts. I would question a singular photo, but not this. The solicitor informed me that she's not able to advise me or take me as a client due to conflict of interest, but will provide the information to my solicitor should I pursue a divorce. OP on exposing her husband's affair and her excuse for not attending the brother-in-law's wedding. I think I'm going to tell him that I was exposed to COVID, so I have an excuse not to go, and then tell him that I know on Sunday morning. I don't want to tell him before the wedding because his brother and his brother's girlfriend are lovely people, and I don't want anything to spoil their day, including my husband being upset while playing such a big role in their wedding. I would feel awful if I did that to them. He's giving a reading at the wedding, a speech at the reception, helping his brother prepare, and doing other duties to ensure that it goes smoothly. I don't care how he feels, but I don't want his emotions to get in the way or spoil the day for the bride and groom. It's for their benefit, not his. I respectfully disagree, and with the wedding only days away, I will not do anything to spoil it. There would be no time to bring someone in to do all the things my husband is responsible for. It is hardly a sacrifice to wait another day. I don't even want to tell him until I am at my sister's anyway. You may disagree, and that's fine, but I'm thinking of his brother and the bride and their day. OP responds to multiple comments about not leaving the house, kick the husband out, transfer her money from their accounts to a new bank account. OP says, we do not own a home, we rent a flat. Additionally, we must be separated for 2 out of the next 3 years in order to obtain a divorce. I will not be remaining in our flat. I can get my own once I am ready. If I emptied the accounts, I could be subject to trouble during the divorce process. That is not allowed. Does OP know anything about the other woman, and if she knows about the divorce in progress? OP says, I have no idea who the other woman is. The solicitor who contacted me informed me that her client will be telling his wife about the divorce next week and told me to do what I needed, so I have time. CMill3 says, I'm so sorry. That is an awful situation. Miss Definition replies, OP's husband is terrible. The fact that he can help someone, brother-in-law with their wedding, while cheating on his own wife is telling of his moral compass. Blade982 replies, I know someone who supported his best friend through a really tough divorce. The reason for the divorce? His best friend's wife had an affair. So this guy is there constantly for his friend, as is his wife. They have him stay over, they drive him to therapy, they send him meals, they take him on days out together, and around a year later, everyone finds out that he's been cheating on his wife for a couple of years with a coworker. Our ability to compartmentalize is crazy. Miss Plap says, I'm so sorry. I'd make sure that he can't cut you off from any shared accounts or anything. If his affair partner is about to be served with divorce papers, chances are that she'll give him a heads up and ruin any advantage that you may have for knowing of his affair while he doesn't know that you know. You sound like a smart lady. Get a place to stay with your child, get your ducks in a row, and leave him. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Plus, be sure to take any important documents with you. Birth certificates, social insurance card, passports, etc., and anything especially sentimental that would be hard to replace. Open a bank account at a different bank and move some money over. Yeah, incredibly tough 2 years ahead for you in this transition period, and it's unfortunate that it's going to take 2 years to fully remove yourself from that marriage. Here in Australia, we have to be separated for 1 year before we're allowed to legally divorce, 1 year and 1 day. And as much as it sucks, it's better that divorce is at least, legal, as it was not legal in a lot of countries not too long ago. I'm looking at you, Ireland. 25 years ago, divorce was not legal. Also, no-fault divorce was not legal here in Australia until 1975. That is crazy. And now, onto the update. So I told my husband that I had been exposed to COVID and could not attend the wedding. My sister helped pack, and she's letting me and my daughter stay with her until I find a flat. Someone I work with has a family member who has one that I can afford that's available in January. When my husband returned home on the Monday, there was a note telling him that I knew about the affair. The husband of the other woman was going to be filing for a divorce later that week, and I would not be far behind. My sister's husband is a solicitor, and he recommended a divorce solicitor to me. My husband and I both have jobs, we don't own a home. At the advice of my solicitor, I opened a new bank account for myself, but I did not touch any of our joint accounts. I'm not stopping my husband from seeing our daughter, and my solicitor said that the law will favor sharing of custody. Unless it's about our daughter, I told my husband to have his solicitor talk to mine. I won't discuss anything else with him. Once we've been separated for 2 years, we can get a divorce. My solicitor said that there is no way to shorten the time requirement. Thank you everyone who showed me kindness. OP on the country's laws for divorces, and if there are any strict laws regarding infidelity. OP says, Ireland. Divorce was not made legal in Ireland until 25 years ago. Before that, divorces were not allowed at all. Until 2019, a couple had to be separated for 4 years, not the 2 years that it is now. Divorce is no fault. It also would not make a difference anyways, as we aren't wealthy, don't own a home or any significant assets, and are both employed. OP on using an app to communicate with her soon-to-be ex-husband regarding co-parenting with their daughter. That's what we are doing at the recommendation of both our solicitors. I have held firm on only discussing things related to our daughter. Anything else goes to our solicitors. And on to the last update. The update is that I am now divorced. I live in Ireland, and it's a requirement that couples live apart for 2 years before they can divorce. There are no exceptions under the law to this. It used to be 4 years, and up until 1998, divorce was not legal in Ireland at all. My daughter and I lived with my sister for almost 3 years before I moved us into our own flat. My husband and I did not own any property, and I legally had no authority to ask him to leave the flat we had while we were married. So I left instead. On the advice of my solicitor, I opened my own bank account and left our jointly owned accounts alone to be settled in the divorce. While we were living apart, my husband and I used an app to communicate about our daughter, and everything else was through solicitors. I haven't talked to him about the affair. I haven't talked to his family or friends, and I don't have social media. My husband carried on seeing the other woman for several months after I moved out, so I'm sure everyone knows he had an affair, but that isn't my problem now. The only thing I talked with him about is our daughter and anything relating to her. We have joint custody, and I will pay him maintenance. Fault is not considered in a divorce, and affair doesn't affect custody. I do not have to pay maintenance to my husband for himself, since he is already living with another woman, not the one that he had an affair with, and plans to marry her right away now that we are divorced. If he had been living on his own and not about to get married, I would have had to pay him maintenance. I have never met the woman that he had an affair with, or her husband, or their children. My focus is on my daughter, and I am civil with their father for her sake. But I don't care about looking on social media or talking to him about the affair. I've never talked to him about it, and I never will. I only care about my daughter. Apologies if my update isn't exciting. I am divorced, there is no drama, and I know that's usually not exciting, but some people have been messaging asking for an update, and I wanted to say thank you to all of the lovely people who offered me support during a terrible time. Camp 808 says, actually, for a boring/non-exciting update, it's basically a very good outcome. He's someone else's problem now, and not having him pay maintenance above all else is absolutely huge. Congratulations, OP. I hope you continue to heal and are surrounded by folks who love you and your daughter. Tack Wombat says, boring updates are good updates. And the commenter is right. The ex is going to be someone else's headache now. Stunning Strength 522 says, I think it was actually pretty exciting, in the sense that it is both exciting and distressingly rare to see women treat themselves well and detach themselves from terrible men without giving those men any undue headspace. I agree, this is a very unexciting update. She didn't gaslight herself that his actions were actually okay, and went back to him. And as we actually see a lot with cheating situations, oh, it's actually the other woman's fault, and I need to go verbally assault her over text and in person because she's stealing my man. I think that phenomenon is so crazy and hilarious in a way, because it's like, how detached from reality are these people? But the fact that I harp on about that when this is such a normal and relaxed update means, I want that drama. But this is such a great, healthy example of letting go of someone that has done you wrong and instantly just cutting them out of your life. The not going on social media at all thing as well is like next level monk mode kind of detachment from everything. Good on her for that, but I don't know if I could keep myself off of social media personally. And also I'm going to say thank you, OP, for coming back and giving us that update after 2 years. I know a lot of people will just abandon Reddit and keep us on the edge of a cliff indefinitely. Thank you for pushing us off that cliff. Thank you. What do you guys think about this one down in the comments? I'd love to know. Our next post is by user Impressive Series 117, and it's titled, "How can someone who isn't invited to a wedding be considered responsible for giving a gift?" I have a group of friends, though not all of them are truly close to me. Most of them are more friends by association, but we all go out together and have a good time. I do consider Maddie and Jessie to be real friends. For Maddie's birthday, I got her a cake. Jessie had a small civil wedding, and Maddie offered to bring wine for the celebration at her place, while I offered to bring a cake. There's a girl in the group named Carly, and my relationship with her is neither friendly nor unfriendly. She's always shown some apathy towards me, and I know that she doesn't really like me. I don't dislike her, but I get the sense that we wouldn't be friends since we have different perspectives. During the celebration, Carly commented that she liked the cake, and Jessie mentioned that I had bought it. Carly said that it was good, but that it tasted a bit dry. Everyone exchanged looks and changed the subject, but Carly kept talking about the cake, and I didn't say anything about it. Carly had been planning her wedding before Jessie got married. She used to invite Maddie, Jessie, and other girls to discuss prices and ask for opinions on things, but she never asked me for help or advice. I had assumed that I wasn't going to be invited. Everyone else got an invitation, and I wasn't surprised when I didn't receive one. Jessie wanted to talk to Carly about it, but I asked her not to, as I didn't want a pity invitation, and I understood that Carly wouldn't invite me because we're not friends. Jessie told me that she wouldn't attend if it would make me feel bad, but I told her not to worry about it. Then, Carly messaged me on WhatsApp to ask about cake designs and filling options. I thought she already had that figured out since her wedding was coming up and she had been planning it for a while. I sent her the catalog, and she commented on a few options that she liked. She asked if I did the setup, to which I replied yes, and sent her some example photos. She only reacted to the photos with a thumbs up, and we didn't talk any further. She didn't ask for a quote or schedule a consultation, so I assumed that she just wasn't interested in my service. This was over a month ago. Today, we went out to eat, and everyone was talking about the wedding. Her fiancé asked who I'd be bringing, as I'm single, so I told him that I wouldn't be attending. He asked why, and to keep the mood light and to avoid drama, I mentioned that I'd be traveling to visit my parents. He understood, but Carly asked me when I was leaving. I told her that I'd be leaving on Wednesday, and she said, "The wedding's on Saturday. How are you going to set up the cake and desserts?" I asked which cake she was referring to, and she replied, "The one you're bringing to my wedding." I told her that we didn't have anything scheduled, and she insisted she had our messages. I clarified that I had only given her options and setup photos, and since she didn't follow up, I assumed that she wasn't interested. Her fiancé asked if anything could be done about it. I explained that the bakery requires a contract and a deposit. Maddie asked if Carly had paid a deposit or requested a contract. Carly replied, asking why she would need to, since it was my wedding gift to her, and that I should make sure that she had her cake for Saturday. I explained that I don't handle the bakery's schedule, and that with the wedding so close, they wouldn't accept a new order. Carly seemed upset and looked very uncomfortable. I then asked for my bill, paid for it, and said goodbye, saying that I needed to go. I really don't want to lose my friendship with a group since I'm not from this city and I've felt comfortable with them. I don't want this to create tension, but I also don't know how to handle conflicts. I know it's a bit sad that I can't stand up for myself and would rather avoid confrontation. Maddie told me that after I left, Carly said that it wasn't fair for me to back out after agreeing, and said that some people in the group hinted that maybe I didn't want to go to the wedding because I didn't want to give her the cake. Jessie said I wasn't invited, and Carly replied that she had invited me. Zoya Tulip says, "It's not okay for her to expect a gift, especially a big cake, from someone she didn't even invite to her wedding. You were right to tell her that you hadn't agreed to make the cake. It makes sense that you wouldn't want to give something so big to someone who doesn't seem to like you very much." Opie replies, "And especially for me to give her that gift when we don't even have a relationship." Kuet replies, "Message all of your friends and Carly in a group chat and clearly state that she didn't invite you. And for future interactions, there is nothing wrong to say that you haven't been invited when you haven't been invited." Chewy Runtbutt says, "Not the asshole. Carly is awful. I don't know how much I would want to be friends with people who would be supportive of the way that she's treating you. It's a good thing that Jessie has your back, but Carly seems to be set on causing major issues for you within that group." And OP says, "I don't even know why she doesn't like me." Have replies, "I do. She probably doesn't like you because you are no nonsense and don't go out of your way to please her. She tried to devalue your cake and make it worth less so it would not be a big gift. Even if you were close friends, she should have offered to pay normal price. You are not the asshole." I actually agree with the way that you handled this situation though. You tried not to make drama. You tried to let her be honest and truthful about the situation as it stands and why this occurred the way that it did. But unfortunately, when it comes to people that live in denial, and seemingly I would say that Carly's a bit of a narcissist, absolutely, she's gonna continue to lie and shift the blame to make it seem as though you're the one with the problem and that she is not at fault, which she has done. Does she get off on the fact that she knows she didn't invite you to the wedding, and then she gets to lie to everyone and say, "No, I did invite her to the wedding. We even agreed to it over text. Check the text messages. The invitation's in there, her agreeing to it and saying that there doesn't have to be a contract. It's all in there, man. Trust me, bro." Like, when that energy is just brought out to you face to face, I don't blame OP at all for saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm actually going to be traveling to see my mum that day." That's a perfectly valid excuse. It might be a white lie, yes, but it's better than saying, "Oh, what do you mean? You didn't invite me, so why do you expect a cake? And we didn't even have a conversation about it. What's wrong with you?" For me, that's just too much, so I respect it, OP. As to how you navigate the situation without breaking the friend group apart because of Carly's nonsense, I don't know, I don't have an answer for that one. And now, onto the update. So I read a comment that is how updates are done here, and I hope those who gave me advice and asked for an update can see this. To those who asked why I didn't stand up for myself and let things get so out of hand, as I mentioned before, I don't like confronting people. I get nervous, feel like I can't breathe. When I had presentations in school, I used to throw up before and after each one. Sometimes, I've even kept items that I didn't order or didn't want just because I was too embarrassed to exchange them. I've been in therapy, and thanks to that, I'm now able to work as a cashier in a bakery. I don't think I could have done that before. I've come a long way, but I still get nervous speaking in public. I have a younger sister, and she used to go everywhere with me. I'd give her the money and she would pay because just talking to the cashier would leave me breathless. I know people often feel sorry for those who seem weak, and I don't want to be seen that way or treated condescendingly. Someone sent me a private message asking our ages. I'm 21, Maddie is 30, Carly is 30, Anna is 31, Carly's fiancé is 31, and Jessie is 30. I can see the root of the issue here. There is a gigantic maturity gap and like where you guys are in your lives in this friend group. Okay. I hope that helps clarify a bit more. And now here is what happened next. Someone suggested what I could say to Carly, and I sent it to her. She replied saying that she thought I wouldn't mind and that I owed her a gift anyway, and she had chosen the cake as her gift. I replied that only guests are responsible for giving gifts. She asked what I meant, and I clarified that she hadn't invited me to the wedding. She left me on red. Oh my god. She can't even defend her own bullshit. I messaged her fiancé something like, I don't want to cause drama or any misunderstandings, but I didn't commit to giving her the wedding cake. I sent him screenshots of our conversation and he called me right away. He apologized and said that he thought that it was odd when Carly told him that I offered to give her the cake. I mentioned that it seemed even stranger to me since I wasn't even invited. He asked if I was serious, and I told him yes, but that I wasn't upset and understood if it was something private. He apologized again, and we ended the call. Around noon, Carly messaged me saying that I was making a fuss over nothing, as if I couldn't just give her the damn cake. She didn't understand why I was being so sensitive, saying that I'd given Maddie a cake and Jessie one as well, and asked me to explain why I couldn't do the same for her. I replied that Maddie's cake was a birthday cake, and although Jessie's was for her wedding, it wasn't a wedding cake. Carly answered that it didn't matter what the cake was for. I told her that if that was the case, she could just go buy one from the supermarket. She started typing, but I blocked her before the message came through. And then Carly sent a message to the group with only the part where I told her to buy it at the supermarket, saying that it was insulting and showed her how little I valued her wedding, so no one could say that she was the bad one. I responded to the group with a suggestion that someone gave me in a comment, which I adapted a bit. Hey everyone, I want to clear up some confusion and rumors. I won't be attending the wedding because I didn't receive an invitation. I understood and made other plans for that time since the rest of you were invited. I'm not hurt or upset, as it is what it is. The confusion about the cake is as baffling to me as it is to you. I only provided information on models and fillings from the place where I work, and that's all. I don't understand why it's expected that I cover a cake for a wedding that I'm not invited to. It's true I suggested the supermarket, as she said the purpose of the cake didn't matter. I hope this clears everything up. I wish you all a wonderful time celebrating Carly and her fiancé. Congratulations in advance to the happy couple, and I hope those who are not involved don't feel caught in the middle. I posted screenshots where she reacted with a thumbs up when I sent the samples, along with all the conversations from that day and today. After a while, someone commented that the group wasn't meant for this kind of drama and that we should resolve it privately. Maddie jumped in and said, Carly demanded the cake in public, so it's only fair that everything else is explained publicly. Another girl, let's call her Anna, commented that that's not the way to ask for a gift. Carly saw everything and sent a voice note saying she didn't know a simple cake would ruin my finances, but that it was fine and that I shouldn't have shared everything in the chat. Then she sent a second message saying that when I get married and don't have friends who can help me out with things from their jobs, I'll understand what it's like to be without support. A guy replied tagging her, "You didn't invite her?" And Carly responded saying she had sent the invitation. Another guy asked, "Do you have the confirmation?" There was no reply. ? Carly says, "No, but she should have told me when she saw she didn't get the invite." Jessie replied that she didn't like Carly's attitude, that she even considered not going and would only attend for the fiancé's sake. Carly then said, "Just so no one says I didn't invite you, everyone can see here that I'm inviting you now. I'll send an electronic invite since there's no point in printing one now." I replied not to bother, as I already had plans. Carly replied, "There, you all see." Then, someone who hadn't spoken left the group. In the comments, question, since you blocked her, how were you still receiving her text messages in the group? OP says, I panicked and unblocked her again. I knew she wouldn't stay quiet, and that's when she posted in the group. Then she messaged me privately again. I haven't replied to her privately anymore. OP on if she knows the fiancé will leave Carly for what she's done. I don't think he'll leave her. They've been dating since college, and he is very much in love. And in danger. OP on the wedding cake details that Carly told her about, and how Carly expects her to be able to whip out the cake on such short notice. I was thinking about all the types of fillings that she mentioned. Some of them can't even be used together in the same cake. Also, cakes are priced by the pound or by the number of guests, but I don't know how many guests that she will have. How was I supposed to assemble a cake without knowing what type of supports I would use? I don't know what kind of decoration she already has, and the supports, cylinders, tables, and trays are priced separately. If she had made a contract, I wouldn't be the only person she had talked to. I don't understand how she could take so many things for granted. The wedding is on Saturday, and I found out about it on Sunday. If I hadn't gone out with them, how was I supposed to find out about it? If I had agreed on Sunday, I wouldn't have been able to have it ready for that day. Beach Polini says, "Oh, so it's a bunch of older adults who should have their shit together, bullying a much younger one, and then calling it drama when she dares to air out that the bride-to-be was lying about her. How sweet." I hope that OP finds real friends, though at least Maddie and Jesse might be worth keeping. Snoo replies, "That was my first thought when OP posted their ages. Carly is 9 years older than OP and trying to bully her into getting a free wedding cake. That's probably why she thought that it would have worked, especially if she already knew that OP gets so anxious about confrontation. Honestly, Carly needs to be sorted out. She's just despicable. And if I were Carly's fiancé, I would unironically just be putting the wedding on hold, putting the relationship on hold as well, because if she can go out of her way to do this much damage to someone so much younger than her with so much little life experience, who she knows is vulnerable and in the past, at least not now, in the past, would cave to immense pressure like this, why would I marry someone like that? Those are all just compounding factors. The fact that she can go behind your back at all and then continuously lie to you, that's strike number one. That calls for putting the wedding on pause. The mask slipped and just cracked through the floorboards underneath her, and he's like, "This is fine. I'm so in love with her. I've sunk so much time into dating her. 12 years at least since college. I'm gonna see this shit through. She may be crazy, but she's my crazy." And you know what? If that's the mentality that these people have together, let them be married so that they are removed from the dating pool. I'm so serious right now. Thank you, OP, for the story. I appreciate you sharing that with us immensely. I do hope that your journey through that anxiety that you are plagued with gets better in the future and that you're able to learn from these situations, not to associate yourself with dickheads like that ever again, if you can help it. So again, thank you. And I'd love to know what you guys have to think about this one down in the comments below. My mum died a couple of days ago. My boyfriend is refusing to go to the funeral or let my daughter go with me because it's religious. Like the title says, I've just lost my mum a couple of days ago from ovarian cancer. I'm devastated right now, and my boyfriend, we've been together for a year and a half, isn't helping me at all. My mum and I weren't on good terms before her death because of my boyfriend. John and my mum never got along because he's a deep-set atheist, and my mum is very religious. Major issues popped up once I got pregnant and had my daughter. My mum pressed for me to have my baby baptized into the church, which I wanted to do, but John was dead set against it. He convinced me that baptizing her and indoctrinating her was a bad choice, and that we should leave it to her to choose when she was old enough. I agreed. My mum didn't take this well at all, and after many angry and hurt arguments, she cut off contact with me. Not having my mum with me during my pregnancy or at my baby's birth took a big emotional toll on me, but John insisted that it was for the best, and he didn't want my mum near my daughter at all, and that my mum was evil for hurting me. At the time, I was angry, so I agreed. I found out my mum was sick with ovarian cancer a month ago when she called me and wanted to talk. I was horrified, and all the bullshit kind of just fell away. I tried to make the best of my time with her, brought my daughter to meet her grandma, and tried to build good memories with her. I'm happy to say that we reconciled, and my mum and I made peace with each other before she died. I don't want to trash my boyfriend, but John has been a pain in the effing ass since I found out my mum was sick. He said she deserved it, but quickly backed down when he saw how angry that made me. He refused to go with me to visit help care for my mum. He didn't even really want to listen to me talk about how happy I was to reconnect with my mum. All he did was remind me that my mum hurt me and I should have no contact with her, and she didn't deserve for me to speak to her. I told him that my mum isn't perfect, but my mum also raised me by herself, and that she was my rock for many years, and he should respect that. He said nothing outside of telling me that there was no value in talking to her. Now we're planning the funeral. I asked John to go with me, and he refused instantly. He said that he hated my mum, that she was a see you next Tuesday to our family, and that he wasn't going to church ever, and it was rude and insensitive of me to ask. When I said that I was taking my daughter, he had the nerve to actually tell me that I was not, under any circumstances, taking her. I've been through an emotional roller coaster this past week. I lost my mum after we finally made up. My boyfriend has been stupidly unsupportive, and now he's refusing to let me take my child to her grandmother's funeral and refusing to come to at least support me. My daughter is the one that brings me comfort, and I want her with me. Is that so unreasonable? It seems like the more I push, the more he digs his heels in, and I just can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. His attitude towards this entire thing is breaking my heart on top of my mum's death. In the comments, Buttcake asks, how does he plan on stopping you from taking her to the service? OP says he can't. I've decided that I'm taking her unless he tries to physically stop me, and even then, good luck. Tina Pesto says, your boyfriend is being completely irrational. He has no say in whether you go to the funeral or whether you bring your daughter. He's making your loss about him. Hell, he made your relationship with your mother about him. Your pregnancy and birth was full of stress from his bullshit drama that he started with your mother. Go to the funeral, bring your daughter. You deserve to say goodbye to your mother, no matter how tumultuous your relationship had been. I'm sorry for your loss. OP says, I don't know if it's because I'm so upset, but I'm starting to see that too. It's always been about him. He's never accepted my wants and instead insisted on a compromise that favored him. I've had enough. OP on her mum. My mum actually cut me off when I said that we decided not to baptize my daughter. I tried for weeks and months to reach out to her and even texted and called when the baby arrived and got no response. I really wish that I had tried harder, like going to the house and knocked, or even just tried to run into her and talk to her. I was really hurt by what my mum did, and I let John talk me into thinking that my mum really was this mean and vindictive person for cutting me out of her life. Trust me when I say I regret it with all my heart now. Diatrastavir says, quote, he said she deserved it. Holy shit. Your boyfriend is awful. He doesn't actually think that attending one funeral will indoctrinate your daughter. This is just a sick power play. He wants to get one over your dead mother. Think about that for a second. He is vying for power over you with your dead mother. Go to the funeral, take your daughter, grieve however you need to, and then make him your ex. Yeah, I completely agree with that. This guy is a complete piece of shit. Him saying that she deserved to get cancer and only backing down when he saw how angry it made you, not him realizing that, oh wow, this is a completely heartless thing to say when I'm going to be losing the only person that raised me. I'm going to lose my foundations. He may not agree with her religious affiliation, he may not have agreed with her actions and everything like that, but it is incredibly heartless to say that she deserves to die of cancer to his partner, who is having to struggle with the loss of their only, maternal support in their life. That's such a callous thing to say. I don't know how anyone can deal with that. That's grounds for just completely kicking him out of the house and making him beg for forgiveness if he even sees himself in the wrong for that. Everything else around that one issue, to me personally, makes it so much worse, and I don't understand how she hasn't broken up with him yet. I would hope that if she had talked to her mum while she was dying in hospital, the mum would have been like, yeah, please see reason and please get rid of him before he does even more damage to My grandchild to you, to everyone else around him. And now, on to the update. Thanks everyone that sent me condolences about my mum. It's been really hard these past several days, but I've been hanging in there okay. I tried being reasonable to John about the way he wanted to handle things. I even told him, like one poster here suggested, that he didn't have to go to the service, but could wait in the lobby with my daughter while the service was ongoing, then she could spend time with my family after the service, but he again shot it down. He would be able to hear the service, and that was a violation of his beliefs, and asking to compromise on those beliefs was unconscionable and unfair to our daughter. I told him that I had had it. This is the icing on a very large cake. I told John that as of this week, I wanted our bank accounts separated. He made us joint accounts to make sure that we split everything equally to be fair despite me making more, and that I'd be staying with my brother after the funeral while we figured out what to do, whether that was a total breakup or counseling. It was up to him. He said that counseling was for the weak-minded, and that we were staying together despite my empty threats, and that there was no way in F that he was letting me take his money. He became very loud and in my face during this conversation, so I just let him throw his tantrum until he took my silence as agreement. I took my daughter with me to the viewing with no problems. John and I barely spoke that day, which was fine by me, but it hit the fan the next day. When I got up in the morning to get myself ready and get my daughter ready, I discovered that he had the mother effing gall to park his car directly behind me, blocking me into the driveway. I had no way to get to the funeral in my own car. John always drives to work, but for reasons I can only imagine were to get back at me, decided to take the metro, and took the baby carriage and bottles and my pump with him. My brother and I have our differences, granted. In fact, we haven't talked much since my mum and I were estranged. We started talking again after she was sick, but he'll forever be a saint to me for what he did. I called him crying, and he and my sister-in-law arrived within 20 minutes. Sister-in-law calmed me down and helped me get my daughter ready, and they brought along spare bottles, a carrier, and a breast pump. Thanks to them, I was able to go to my mother's funeral in comfort, and my daughter was an angel during the service. They calmed me down and everything went perfectly, and even though I was a mess most of the day, having my daughter with me, and my sister-in-law, and even my brother with me to lean on, gave me peace on the inside. I've made up my mind not to tolerate John's insane and controlling behavior anymore. He had a litany of excuses for doing what he did. He even tried to claim that his car had problems, and I don't want to hear any of them. I never wanted to be a single mum, I always wanted to raise my baby within a family, but I've decided that going alone is so much better than doing it with this man who thought nothing of trying to kick me while I was down. My brothers arranged for me to talk to a friend of his that specializes in family law this week, and we are taking it from there. I still feel so guilty for what happened with my mum. I miss her so much. I hope from here on out I can make her proud of me despite my mistakes. Jangetta says, I am so sorry that you are going through this right now, and I'm so glad you have the support of a family behind you. Your daughter is far better off without someone like this as a role model for what she should look for in life, and I'm glad that you are getting out of this situation. I would call the bank and see what you can do about the joint account before he tries something like cleaning it out and putting it somewhere else as well. I am so sorry, and I wish you all the best. And OP replies, I still have my personal account, so I called the bank and set up a meeting for tomorrow. I'm documenting that I've told John not to touch any of the money in the account until everything is worked out. I agree. He is so toxic. John has good points and I do love him, but I can't forgive the way that he went out of his way to spite me during this whole thing. That is not love at all. And to another commenter, OP says, I'm definitely withdrawing the money of my last check from the account first thing tomorrow. And lastly about the money, for everyone that's worried, he didn't get his hands on my money. I went straight to the bank and got the amount of my last check out of the account. Woo. Ichigo Muse says, I just read your first post and this post. First off, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. Secondly, I am glad you were rid of that man. He is as toxic as they come. And thirdly, I'm glad you have a supporting family who came through for you. Anyways, your ex sounds downright horrible. In your first post, you said he called your mother a CU in the Northern Territory and said she deserved it. I would have left him then and there. No one talks like that about family, not even if you have differences with said family, especially if they have passed away. Any amazing qualities he had were all a charade, and he showed you his true self. I'm proud of the fact that you realize that even though your daughter may not know her father, she's going to be better off. Take care of yourself and your daughter, OP. And OP replies, I was so shocked when he said it, I didn't know how to react. It literally didn't hit me until about the time that I'd made up my mind to post here. He liked to act like my mum was abusive to him because of her religion, but his main grief with her was that she asked him to lead Grace once, and he reacted badly. Thank you for your kind words. I plan to take good care of us both. Amrak Karma asks, has he ever had any violent actions like punching a wall, etc.? I think everyone here is underestimating the risk that this man can have violent reactions in the future. And OP says, not wall punching, but he'd slam things like the cabinets or the dishwasher or doors, or he would rattle a chair or something. Nothing crazy violent, just weird. Yeah, just how like Ryle from It Ends With Us kicks the chair, and that's not like abusive, red flags or anything. That's just weird behavior, and definitely doesn't have any ramifications down the line. Mad Hatter 06 says, been together a year and a half, already have a baby, combined finances with her making more. He was turning the heat up under that particular pot. I'm glad that she got well rid of him before COVID and all that. And again, I think OP's saving grace was that he got too impatient and turned the heat up too quick near the end. It's scary how I read these stories and think if they had just escalated a little slower, the person wouldn't have realized until it was too late. Just like with that story the other day with the baby naming. Oh yeah, our family tradition is that the first son always has the same name, and I will not compromise on this. Gets called out. Oh, thanks for showing her that I was being a dick, guys. No worries here, let's have a compromise. For me, that's an example of turning the heat down and then knowing to escalate slower, and it worked. Back to the comments, Darth Melonlord says, it's genuinely terrifying. To this day, I'm sure that I managed to escape mine after a year and a half because we were both young and he wasn't experienced enough yet to know how fast he could lock his claws into me. And it still had to reach repeated instances of physical abuse and finally a death threat for me to wake up and leave. He didn't fully manage to isolate me before escalating to that level, and that was my saving grace. Please, I'm begging anyone who is reading, don't abandon your friends in abusive relationships. You don't have to be an active part of their life while the abuse is ongoing if you fear for your safety, or it's simply too much for you to be a support person in that moment, but leave the door open. Let them know that you love them and will help them when they need it. I add these comments because I feel like they deliver the message that I want to deliver in a much more coherent fashion. That partner was just red flags galore, and it's insane to me just how fast that relationship moved. Like, it seems as though she got pregnant to this guy in record time, and he slowly just tried to isolate her from anyone and everything in her life. That's just speedrun abuse right there, and it is worth it to know the signs in your own life and in your friends' lives so you know what you can do to help these people that are being abused. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP, and I hope that things are better these days. Oh my god. Our next post is by user StunningMud9227, and it's titled, Would I be the asshole to divorce my wife after she said she wanted to send our son to a conversion camp? So this is a pretty heavy situation, and I'm really confused and disgusted, I'm not gonna lie, because I never thought my wife was like this. My wife, 44 female, and I, 45 male, have been married for 14 years. We have 2 kids, a 16-year-old son, let's call him Noah, and a 12-year-old daughter. We've had our fair share of disagreements over the years, of course, but things have generally been smooth between us. Now, for the context. Noah came out as gay about a year ago. It was a surprise, and as hard as it was to accept, I love my kids more than anything, and I just want their happiness. My wife visibly didn't take it well, though. She was upset and seemed to go through a grieving period where she didn't really talk about it. I tried to support Noah in every way I could, telling him that I loved him no matter what, etc. My wife, though, I could tell that she wasn't on the same page. She would say things like, "This is just a phase," or "he needs help," but I brushed it off as her needing time. Fast forward to last week, and we were having a conversation about Noah's future. Out of nowhere, my wife casually mentions that she's been looking into conversion therapy camps and thinks that it might be the right solution. She said that Noah isn't truly gay, that he just hasn't been shown the right path, and that this could fix him. My blood ran cold, obviously, and I was in shock. I immediately told her that I didn't agree and that this was not something that I could support. She got upset and said that I was enabling Noah's confusion and that if I really cared about him, I would help him get better. What the hell is wrong with her? She was persistent, and no matter how much I tried to explain that conversion therapy is harmful, like I know those kids get abused and often end up traumatized or taking their own lives, and that I would never send our son to something like that, she would not back down. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't even think I love her anymore. The fact that she could be so heartless disgusts me. I know that being gay is not easy, and people like her just make it even harder. I'm considering staying only for our daughter's sake, but would it be okay if it means hurting my son? It feels like a betrayal to Noah. I just don't think that I can keep living with someone who thinks that this is okay. In the comments, someone says that OP needs to get a divorce as soon as possible. His wife is setting their son up for child abuse. OP says, "I mean, yeah, of course I really want to divorce her. We don't even talk anymore, but I know how damn close my daughter is to her mother. But I know at the moment, I need to focus on Noah, and hopefully my daughter will be wise enough to understand." Not the asshole. Please do not send your son to conversion therapy because of your wife's heartlessness. And OP replies, "You don't have to worry about this. I will not do this. I love my son just the way he is. I don't even know how to tell him that his mum wants to do that. The kids noticed the tension between us, but I haven't said anything yet." Another commenter says, "Staying for your daughter's sake? What the hell? What about your son? Not the asshole. Divorce her and get full custody immediately of both kids. Tell the judge that you fear crazy pants will turn your daughter against your son and raise her to be a bigot like her. Also, if you get any of her nonsense in writing, get it in text, save it. Don't tell her that you're going to use it in court. Conversion camps should be illegal. It is so disgusting." And OP says, "You're absolutely right. I'll start looking for a good lawyer and cut her out of our life as soon as possible." Collywobble's mama says, "Not the asshole 100%. Noah is not broken. There is nothing to fix. Those conversion camps are hell on earth, and any parent who wants to send their child to one doesn't deserve to be a parent. Make sure you include it in the conditions of custody that it is absolutely not permitted. Depending on where you're located, it might even be grounds to go for full custody. Buckle up, OP. Your fight for your children's rights and well-being is just beginning." Curious Penguin Sock says, "I would actually talk to a divorce lawyer and tell them that you fear your wife doing this and ask how you can protect your kids. Play nice for now and then drop the hammer. Not the asshole. Not one bit. You keep protecting your kids." Maroon Grad says, "Another option, see if Noah can be an exchange student. Seriously. That would get him away in another country for a full school year. Start checking into this for the second semester. Tell your wife that it would toughen him up to be away from her. She's a bigot, and use that to push buttons and get your son to travel far away. It would keep him safe while you go through divorce courts. This is the way. While he's gone, get your ducks in a row for the divorce. The court, assuming US, will take his opinion into consideration for custody. So by the time that it all settles, you will likely have full custody, and he will nearly be 18 anyway. He's not broken. He doesn't need fixing. It is not a phase. What he needs is love and safety. You've got this." I completely 100% agree with that. Your wife has lost her goddamn mind. And when did she lose her goddamn mind? Did she never, mention this crazy, anti-gay mentality at all? Have you never experienced this with her in the last at least 16 years of your children existing? Or was it like that story previous with the racist partner who, when their son started dating a black girl, she's like, absolutely not. I'm gonna guess it's one of those situations where it just never came up until now, and you realize how unhinged it is staring that problem in the face. And yeah, I don't think that you should stay with her for the sake of your daughter, because that just says, I do not support my son at all, and I would rather stay with my homophobic wife who is going to send him to conversion camp and do untold damage to him than to put my son's best interests first to keep my son safe. Oh, I need to consider the emotions of my daughter and not the physical and mental well-being of my son. That doesn't make any sense. Please don't do that. Your daughter is going to hate you anyway for a while for breaking the family apart, but when she grows up and understands the full context, she will come around and see why you did what you did and hate her mother for doing that to everyone. All good things have to come to an end eventually, and your wife, who was perfect in every other way, and oh my god, she was perfect up until this one disagreement, and I don't understand. Yeah, that has to go. You have to get rid of her. She's a broken individual, and she is not going to change her mind on this one. I do not see transparent conversations changing this. So no, you would not be the asshole for divorcing your wife. She is a dangerous lunatic. And now, on to the updates. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone here for all of the help and advice I've gotten under my post and in my DMs. Sorry if I couldn't answer everyone, there was just too much. So I posted something about my wife wanting to send my son to a conversion camp 2 days ago. First of all, some people told me to show her videos and documentaries about what happens there, but this argument has been ongoing for more than a week now. I've showed her things, and she won't budge. Really bad update if I can be honest. So let's get into it. All of you told me to try to get him out ASAP. Y'all were definitely right. So yesterday, I took the day off and went to see an attorney just to get some info about divorce, etc. But after what happened, I'm 100% sure that I want a divorce ASAP. Yesterday, I went to pick Noah up at his school, and as many of you suggested, we had a long discussion. I basically told him that his mum and I may be getting a divorce because she wants to send him to a conversion camp, but I can't accept that. I've talked with her many times, and I told him that I'll probably go through with it. He looked really hurt. My heart broke all over again, but was very understanding and thanked me for standing up for him. I pulled him into a tight hug and told him that I'll always love him no matter what, and that nothing is his fault. At that moment, he started crying because he was so glad at least I was on his side. And I'm very pissed, so sorry if I don't make sense, but apparently his mum had been pressuring him for months. She planned dates with girls to try and fix him, and he had to lie by saying he was going at a friend's instead. She was saying that he needs help, and as much as she loves him, he needs to get his condition cured, etc. I feel so bad because I've been so oblivious to all of that, and I've failed to protect him for all that time. How do you make your 16-year-old son go through that? So when we got home yesterday, I can't lie, I was furious and confronted her right then and there. At first, she was trying to explain that she was doing it for him, but her speech quickly turned to slurs, and it was clear that she was just ashamed of having a gay son. In the end, I told her that I went to see an attorney and that learning all of that just confirmed that I want a divorce. She got really angry, calling me a delusional disgrace, and we argued a lot, and at some point Noah tried to separate us, but my wife punched him multiple times. She was saying disgusting things like he's a dirty F-word and that it's all his fault that we're getting divorced because his filth corrupted me. My daughter, who was probably in her room, came to see what all the commotion was about, and was rightfully horrified and quickly called 911 when I told her to. Long story short, the cops got there and took her away. She was very reluctant to go because she was not in the wrong and they needed to let her go. I explained everything to my daughter, and she doesn't want anything to do with her mum anymore. Right now, I'm at the hospital because my soon-to-be ex-wife broke my rib while I was restraining her. I should have probably went as soon as the cops took her, but I don't care. My son was crying with a black eye and a split lip. They're checking for any concussions. And obviously the only thing I cared about was to comfort him, because I can't even imagine what it can feel like being beaten by your own mum for being gay. I'm planning to file for full custody, of course, and my kids don't want to see her ever again anyway. Given all the charges she's facing, I hope she won't stand a chance against me. I just sent mail to my attorney, and I hope the procedures will be fast. I've also thought of getting CPS involved, but I'm not sure they'll really help. Like, I cannot understand how you can grow so resentful of your own kid because of something they can't control. Even I had pretty strong opinions about it, but as a father, it's my role to unconditionally love my kids, and so I learnt about the topic and changed my way of seeing the world for him. It took some time grasping it, but I never doubted for 1 second the love that I have for my child. I thought that it was the same for my wife, but visibly not. In the comments, Wayward Compass says, "Looks like she reaped what she sowed, and sowed, and sowed. And while she was at it, tacked on some lifelong no contact from both kids. Stellar mothering right there. I'm sorry you all had to experience this side of her. Why do you suppose that, after so many years together, that you are just seeing this part of her now? Is she experiencing cognitive issues that may not have been present before?" OP says, "I think we never really discussed the topic of LGBT plus people, so I had no idea that she could be so cruel." OP on his daughter's strength to call for help and to get some therapy if needed. "Thank you very much. I'm so proud of her for doing this, only at 12. She's pretty shaken and confused, but she seems to understand the gravity of her mum's actions. I'm so sad that she had to be dragged into this mess as well." OP on kicking his wife out of the house or moving out somewhere with his kids. "We've got a house that is under both our names, and we didn't have a prenup. People have been telling me to change the locks and throw her stuff out, but I just don't know if I can do that. If I can't, I'll either go back to my parents with the kids or rent an apartment in the meantime." Similar Shame says, "I don't think that this escalated quickly. Wife already started at the crazy pants position of, let's cure our son's gayness. Once you start in Crazy Town, there is nowhere else to go but crazier. What I am curious about is whether this was surprising behavior, or if OP knew his wife was a bigot, but didn't care until it affected him and his children." Totally Awry replies, "Sometimes people can surprise you in the worst way. There might have been a bit of casual light homophobia, but it didn't really sink in because it didn't have any impact on either of them. The surprise bit to OP is that rather than getting past it like he did, she went full-on violent asshole. You don't always know a person until things start going wrong. Right? How many posts on Reddit start out describing how perfect and amazing their partner is, and how they just can't understand how they've suddenly become so aggressive and so abusive over this one little argument? And everyone's like, no babe, it wasn't perfect. You've just never told them no before." Sentimental Illness says, "Not a romantic partner, but recently had a situation like this with a family member who went absolutely nuclear after a disagreement. My dad was confused and worried that she had slipped into dementia because it was so out of character, but I pointed out that this was the first time anyone in the family had dared go against her. Of course everything was fine while she got her own way." Stella Manatee replies, "Currently going through something like this with my sister-in-law. When it first happened, she was pregnant and we all blamed pregnancy hormones. Yeah, by the 4th time she turned up to my mother's house screaming abuse in the front garden, there was no more excuses. My brother is flummoxed. He doesn't know what triggered this personality change, but she has always been like this. He just never told her no before." And Terpsichorean Wombat says, "This hits me from the other direction. When I finally confronted my abusive parent over the phone after decades of just feigning a relationship because it was what everyone wanted from me, she accused me of having a mental health crisis and noted specifically that I was not speaking in my natural voice or register. No, you've just never heard me angry before because I was never allowed to be. When I was a child, I faced violent abuse if I so much as had an angry expression on my face. And I just hope that comments like these can help anyone that might be needing help with perspective or, with understanding why people change and how they can change when told no. It just pisses me off. It just pisses me off whenever I see these stories and they're like, oh, he's so perfect. She is so perfect except for this one time that I told her no, and now she has a knife to my throat, and I don't understand why my perfect wife changed so dramatically. Like, yes, I get it as well. Abuse doesn't start that way. Abuse takes time to get to that position, but all I ask is to accumulate knowledge of red flags that are kind of like little hints towards this abuse that can happen to people. And obviously, as we see from all these stories, does happen to people. If you can spot things early on, you can get yourself out of dodge, you can help your friends get out of dodge. And, abusers are not going to allow themselves to be identified so easily. OP in this situation was more than right to get the hell away from his wife as soon as possible because look, she assaulted him, she broke his ribs, she gave the son a black eye, she split the son's lip. His gayness, just existing at all, was enough for her to violently assault her own son. We just can't allow people like that to be around kids, much less their own kids, for the kids' safety. I don't know, I'm rambling. Those are my exiting thoughts on this one. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP, and thank you to the Reddit community for sharing their stories in the comments also. I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down below. Would I be the asshole for telling my wife to show me her phone after I got an email accusing her of cheating? I, male 47, have a comfortable and fulfilling life. I have a job that I truly enjoy, I live in a nice suburb, and am blessed with 3 wonderful children, male 8, female 6 and 4, and a lovely wife Emily who is 45. I've always felt that Emily and I were an ideal match. However, a recent email I received has deeply unsettled me and planted a seed of doubt in my mind. Emily lived in the UK between 2010 and 2015, during which time she pursued a PhD. Because she lived there so long, she developed many close friendships and has made it a point to return every couple of years to maintain those ties. This past August, she travelled to the UK for 3 weeks to attend the wedding of one of her close friends. After some consideration, we agreed that it would be best for me and the children to remain home, as I could not take that much time away from work, and the children were unlikely to find much enjoyment in such an event. Emily departed, returned as expected, and life returned to normal for us. Last week, I received an email on my work email address. It was supposedly from the wife of Emily's friend. I'll call him Jake, male 44. According to this woman, she has a very strong reason to suspect that Jake and Emily engaged in an affair. She listed off her suspicions, noting that Jake had picked up Emily from the airport, spent considerable time at her hotel, and how the two of them frequently went out to dinner alone. She even included pictures of my wife's earrings that she found in Jake's pockets when she was doing the laundry, and pictures of a lipstick stain on his shirt. The color is one that I recognize as something Emily often wears. There is some other evidence she listed off, but for the sake of conciseness, I will not include them here. All of this was a lot to absorb, and for a while, I thought that it was some sort of joke, so I tried my best to ignore it, but it kept coming back into my mind. I remember that before her trip, my wife had talked to all her friends there. I don't know if this email is influencing my memory, but I think she probably spoke with Jake the most. Additionally, I know Emily never liked Jake's wife, though I can't say why. I have never pried into Emily's phone or social media accounts before, but I feel very tempted to now. However, I know I'd feel terrible if I looked and found nothing. Also, if I start acting suspicious, wouldn't she just delete everything out of fear of being found out? I'm unsure how to move forward and would welcome any guidance on handling this. The best I can currently come up with is asking to see her phone immediately after confronting her about it so as to not give her time to delete anything. Though part of me thinks this would upset her and potentially not even show anything. Would I be the asshole for telling my wife to show me her phone after I got an email accusing her of cheating? Edits, I forgot to include, my wife no longer has these earrings. She wasn't wearing them when she returned, and when I asked, she said that she lost them. Tickety Tickety Boom says, not the asshole, and show your wife the email from this person and then ask the question. And OP says, I guess I will. Here's hoping that it turns out to be nothing. Don't forget to look in hidden folders, and here are ways to find some deleted messages. On iPhone, open the Messages app, tap Edit or Filters in the top left corner, tap Show Recently Deleted, select the conversations you want to restore, tap Recover, and then tap Recover Messages to confirm. Another commenter asks, Info. The other evidence bears listing. Best to have all the facts as you understand them, concision aside. And OP says, it isn't as solid as the other stuff that she shared, which is why I decided to leave it out. But the other evidence is as follows. She said that every day Emily was there, Jake would either go see her or talk on the phone with her. She also said that whenever Jake was on the phone with Emily, he would quickly hang up or leave the room if he noticed her. She mentioned that they seemed to not even hide how much physical contact they'd had, as they'd always find an excuse to touch each other. They would reminisce about old times a lot. She even said the way they would look at each other. Another commenter says, I would show her the email you got and ask to see the phone right then and there. Her reaction will be telling. I think it warrants asking to see her phone. However, I'm not yet sold on it definitely being an affair. The lipstick stain proves absolutely nothing. She could have found or taken the earrings from somewhere else. How certain are you that they are actually your wife's? And the rest you put in the comments are purely just her word. She might just be causing trouble. And OP says, I am 100% certain that those are my wife's earrings, or at least a replica. I got them for her 2 years ago on her birthday. She told me that she lost them while in the UK, since I noticed she wasn't wearing them when she got back. Yeah, I really do think it depends how you approach this situation, but as it stands right now with everything you've shared with us, I don't think you'd be an asshole for asking her to show you her phone. I don't think you're likely to find any evidence of her cheating, but I tend to believe the email, and I do think that that is solid enough evidence to at least warrant searching the phone. And now onto the update. A few hours after sharing my first post, I confronted Emily, and she confirmed my fears. She claims that she's in love with Jake and can't live a lie any longer. She still claims to love me and the kids, but says she can't stay with us any longer. According to her, she was waiting for a better time to tell me and the children. Apparently this has been going on since March, with Jake flying out here occasionally, and Emily secretly meeting him. We are getting divorced. Emily is moving to the UK soon. She confirmed that in August. In addition to the wedding, she attended a job interview and she's set to start around the new year. She's already applied for a British visa. She plans to live with Jake once she moves. As for custody, Emily is voluntarily surrendering her chance of full custody. She doesn't want to uproot the kids, so they'll stay here in Canada with me. There's a part of me that appreciates that decision, but there's also the part that is astonished at how easily she is walking away. She wants to pay child support, but I'd rather raise my children without her financial influence. That said, the court will likely insist on support, regardless of my feelings. Emily is also seeking structured visitation rights, which, given the circumstances, will likely be granted. Based on what I've been told, the court generally leans toward arrangements that allow both parents to maintain relationships with the children, even when one is relocating to a different country. The lawyers are still working out the details, but it seems as though she'll have visitation during school breaks and holidays, with the possibility of virtual calls in between. I've been keeping things as amicable as possible, and the more cooperative I am, the more Emily seems to agree with my demands. We are also discussing the future of our home. Emily has expressed a desire to sell the property and divide the proceeds, and while I'm reluctant to part with the family home, it is unlikely that I have much of a choice since it was bought during our marriage. For now, our lawyers are still working through the details, and no final decisions have been made. Given the situation, it could be a good while before we reach a resolution. In the meantime, I've been advised not to make any major financial moves. As much as I want to stay here with the children, I know selling is most likely inevitable. As of this writing, Emily is in an Airbnb, and Jake has flown here to stay with her. They plan on traveling to the UK at some point in the near future. My lawyer tells me that adultery isn't grounds for special treatment when it comes to custody or property division. Therefore, it won't influence how assets are divided unless marital funds are directly involved. Emily likely used money from her personal account. Unless it can be proven that she used our joint finances to fund the affair, it's unlikely that this will make any difference in court. I've been in regular communication with Jake's soon-to-be ex-wife, Eleanor, primarily through email, and more recently, we've spoken over the phone a few times. Eleanor apologized, saying she felt guilty for telling me about the affair and worried that if she hadn't, maybe my marriage could have been salvaged. I reassured her that, for me, the gravity of the situation made divorce inevitable, and I would rather not remain in the dark about something of this significance. She even sent me messages and other evidence of their relationship, but since Emily is openly admitting to the affair, it doesn't really matter in the context of the law. Eleanor has told me a lot about Jake. Apparently, this is the third time that he has cheated on her, and she's had enough. There is no chance of reconciliation this time, she says, and he doesn't seem interested in trying. She mentioned that Jake has zero desire to raise children who are not biologically his, which explains why Emily's not fighting for custody. Eleanor's divorce will most likely be much longer and more drawn out than mine, given that both her and Jake want full custody of their children and can't agree on several other issues. I haven't had much time to process everything. These past 2 weeks have felt like a blur in every way. But one thing I can say with certainty is that I have nothing left for Emily. Not because she betrayed our marriage, but because of how easily she's walking away from our children. I never thought I could hate someone I once loved so much. It's a strange feeling. The hardest part in all of this is the children. My 2 youngest daughters have started asking why their mother isn't around as much anymore, and it's been very difficult trying to communicate with them about the nature of the situation. My eldest seems to understand a little more, and as a result, he has become quiet and withdrawn. I'm fortunate to have a family that has been incredibly supportive so far. My children have received numerous thoughtful letters from some of their cousins, which I've been reading to them each night. All my siblings have also sent gifts for the kids, and one of my brothers, along with his wife, drove up to visit over the past weekend. My sister-in-law even prepared plenty of food, some of which is still in the freezer. They also kept the children entertained while I met with my lawyer. My other siblings have also offered to come by and look after the kids whenever I need them. Beyond that, my parents have been calling daily to check in on us, and my 78-year-old mother has already made plans to stay with us for 2 weeks in November to help around the house. The collective effort of family has made this experience much more bearable, and I'm deeply grateful for all of the support. To everyone who encouraged me to speak with Emily after my last post, I'm grateful. I was tempted to ignore Eleanor's message, but it kept gnawing at me. Your advice gave me the courage to act. Emily has shown herself to be a liar, and I have no doubt that her idea of a better time was simply when it could cause the least inconveniences for her and Jake. Taiwan Bandit says, "So sorry for the outcome here, OP. I had not expected her to just drop the marriage and take off with Jake, a known cheater. Can't imagine that relationship will last long, and your wife walking away from her kids to be with him is just beyond the pale. Continue to listen to your lawyers, be amicable to get the best settlements, and take care of your kids. It's good that you have a supporting family. Thanks for the update. I wish you and your kids well." Glassgirl1021 says, "She won't realize what she's done until the relationship with Jake falls apart and she's alone in another country and has kids across the ocean that resent her. It will be a rude wake-up call. When a mistress becomes a wife, there is a vacancy, as the old saying goes. Rocketman69 says, take her support payments and put it into an account for the kids. Keep investing it for them and give it to them when they are 30. Hopefully they'll be in a good place where the money will really help them. Why did I have to scroll so far down for this? The money can benefit your kids. Just put it away for them somehow. Don't let your ego get in the way of your kids' future financial security. That is so dumb. And add that she is responsible for covering their therapy costs or some shit on top of it. They are going to need a lot to deal with being abandoned by her. Yeah, absolutely. I think if I were in this situation, it'd just go into a high-interest savings account or just an index fund for each of the children so that they can have a house deposit when they're 30. That seems like the best way to approach this situation, so that she's at least directly contributing to their future. And I do wonder if you could fight for extra money to pay for therapy for her abandonment. To me, I feel like that would be the right thing. That would be the morally just thing to do. But I am a dumbass, and I am not a family lawyer. But I'd love to know what you guys think of that one. Is there any arguing that? And now onto the latest update. Think of this less as an update and more as a chance to vent a few things now that I've had more time to process my situation. I know that Emily often travelled back and forth to the UK during our marriage. She claims her affair with Jake only began in March 2024, but I'm convinced that she's lying. It's almost certain that this has been going on for years. Given how much she had already prepared by the time I confronted her, it's become clear to me and everyone else that she had been planning this for some time. In fact, within a few short days of our confrontation, she already had certain legal documents prepared. Additionally, Jake arriving in Canada shortly after I confronted Emily made it clear that they had planned for her to tell me roughly around this date in advance. It makes sense that Emily was well prepared and was just waiting for things to be better lined up for herself. After all, she had long since applied for a visa, secured a job, secretly appraised her car, our family car, though it was under her name, and sent personal items with Jake to the UK during his secret visits, all right under my oblivious nose. I have a feeling that I'm only scratching the surface and have no real idea of how far this actually goes. Not that Emily would ever tell me its depth. In addition to all of this, Emily had already been in touch with her lawyer long before I confronted her. Taking all of this into account, it's hard not to wonder if she's secured her job even earlier than she let on, perhaps to make her actions seem less calculated. Two of Emily's friends have since reached out to express shock and disappointment by her actions. One of them, Janet, mentioned that according to another friend, Emily had been consulting her divorce lawyer as far back as late August or early September. And this other friend also confirmed my suspicion that Emily had been sending some of her belongings to the UK during Jake's visits. I've been losing sleep, replaying the past few months in my mind, maybe driving myself a little crazy, but certain things stand out. For example, when Emily went to the UK in August for the wedding, she was carrying 3 fully loaded suitcases. She told me that they were filled with presents for her friends, and I didn't question it, even though it seemed a bit excessive at the time. When I picked her up from the airport after her trip, I noticed the bags were suspiciously light. I can assume that in addition to the job interview she claimed to attend, she transported a bunch of her personal items to the UK, which would explain why, since her return, she seemed to have been wearing a smaller selection of clothing. But despite this, I was somehow blindsided, and I completely blame myself. Looking back, I can see that there were signs I ignored, and I guess I didn't think Emily was capable of this sort of thing. A part of me wonders if this outcome could have been avoided entirely had I been more assertive and vigilant in the past. The worst part of all is that my children are now dealing with the consequences of my ignorance and stupidity. While I twiddled my thumbs, my wife had essentially started a new life. Most people in my life know about my separation from Emily. I've stopped wearing my wedding band, and I've explained the situation to friends and colleagues who noticed its absence. One of my close friends and many others who reached out privately on Reddit have suggested that I get DNA tests for the children, given Emily's travel patterns and her tendency to lie. While I understand where they're coming from, this is something I'll never do. I'd never assign my children to another man. Nothing will change that. Life without Emily has thus far been difficult. Mornings have become a hectic rush. Between getting the kids ready and getting myself out the door, I'm barely on time for work nearly half the week. It's frankly exhausting trying to keep up with all the extra parenting duties that I have to perform throughout the day. Our current home has a large driveway, so on top of everything else, I'm already dreading the task of shoveling it once the snow starts falling. The kids are feeling the strain as well. They don't particularly like the food I prepare most days and hate how I'm always busy. It's incredibly frustrating to know that while we're here struggling, Emily recently departed for a relaxing vacation through Europe with Jake. Communication between us has dwindled, and I only learned of these developments recently. I have no idea if she plans to return to Canada after her vacation or to settle directly into what will likely be a very comfortable life in the UK. On a more positive note, I was able to get the kids to see their doctor recently. She gave me a bunch of useful resources and advice. She placed an emphasis on how time and clear communication were the most important factors for their adjustments. While I'm optimistic, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried. It's still early, I know, but they remain quite upset about the entire ordeal and act out regularly as a result. It is abundantly clear that they're having a hard time adjusting to our new reality. Throughout all of this, my family has been a tremendous support. My mother arrived as promised early last week, and things have already become significantly easier. The kids enjoy her cooking and spending time with her. Her presence has also freed me to handle other tasks. Whenever the divorce is finalized, I plan to designate my eldest brother and sister-in-law as legal guardians for the children. They live relatively nearby and have already agreed to take on that role if needed, which brings me some peace of mind. However, I highly doubt this will be anytime soon, given my much busier schedule and Emily dragging her feet before traveling. The whole process has slowed to a snail's pace. One of the hardest aspects of all of this has been making decisions about our family home. After considerable thought and speaking it over many times with my family, I'm leaning towards selling at this stage. Emily has already offered me a bit more than half of the proceeds since she sold our SUV right before leaving the country. My lawyer has noted that selling the SUV before we finalized anything was premature on her part, considering that I contributed significantly to the purchase, 40%. He thinks I have strong grounds to seek reimbursement elsewhere in our asset division, which aligns with Emily offering more of the house. Getting more than half seems fair, given that I contributed about 65 to 70% of the down payment and monthly mortgage payments. As I mentioned above, the family SUV was registered in only her name. However, I covered about 40% of its cost, so it's frustrating that she sold it unilaterally. As I've learned over the past several weeks, my sedan is too snug for the kids and inconvenient for my mother to duck in and out when she runs errands. Therefore, I'll need to trade it in for something larger. In return, Emily has graciously insisted that I keep the furniture and appliances. Least she can do, I suppose. As much as part of me would like to stay in our current home, it's probably better for us to move. Part of me hopes this will help us avoid future interference from Emily, though in reality, she's just as likely to interfere no matter where we are. I've been looking at townhouses closer to my place of work, which would cut down my commutes and place us near a well-rated school. However, my sisters brought up that moving the kids now would mean changing schools and losing their friends, which would be yet another big change for them. An alternative option is that we move to a smaller, more manageable house close to our current one. This would reduce my workload and allow the kids to stay at the same school. Regardless of which option we choose, the idea of a new home without Emily's memory is appealing. Our current home's location is yet another example of how foolish and short-sighted I've been. Its location was much more convenient for Emily's commute compared to my own. It worked out for a time, as the children's school was close to Emily's work in case they needed her during the day. But now all of this is useless, as my place of work is rather far. I've heard nothing from Emily's family, and frankly, I have no interest in reaching out. As for Emily's future with Jake, I don't wish her relationship to fail. The longer her life is stable, the less likely she'll disrupt ours. But I take solace in knowing that she remains unaware of Jake's infidelity history. I don't feel any moral obligation to warn her about Jake's character, and Eleanor feels the same way. I've made a point to check in on Eleanor regularly. She doesn't have the same family support that I do. Her immediate family is charmed by Jake's ample wealth and believes that she should do whatever it takes to keep him, even though it's clear that neither he nor Eleanor wants reconciliation. In the comments, her friend was shocked and disappointed by her behavior? How? She knew that Emily was already seeing a divorce attorney, right? And also knew that things were being sent to the UK. OP replies, the two friends who approached me found out from a third friend about my wife seeing a divorce attorney around late August/early September. This third friend only told the two ladies who came to me that she knew all of this after Emily had already moved out of the house. This third friend has not spoken with me directly. Another commenter says, I'm so sorry, man. Nobody deserves that pain. I've been carrying it around with me for 15 years. I hope you're luckier than I am and meet someone new. Cheaters are the lowest of the low. She's abandoning her own kids for his. Not a soul to be had. And OP replies, it is what it is, I suppose. Cheating is one thing, but I'm still stunned that she's walking out on our children like this. I would have never imagined that she could do something like this. OP gives some details if Emily decides to come back and wants to reinstate her parental rights to her children, what the outcomes would likely be for Emily. Given that Emily intends to pay child support and seeks visitation rights, should she return in a few years and request access to the children, it's likely she would be granted some access. However, as the primary caretaker, I would retain full custody. There is, of course, the possibility that she may develop a significant criminal record during her time abroad. Should that happen, it would likely bar her from any access to the children, though I admit I might be too optimistic in hoping for such an outcome. The opinions of the kids are also taken into consideration, so I hope if it comes down to that, they clearly state that they prefer staying with me. Of course, all of this is just a rough outline of what I think would happen. Various facts can cause different outcomes. Here's hoping my wife stays away so we don't have to go down that road. OP's reaction on Emily's decision to walk away from their own children, and how Emily is willing to be involved with Jake's children. Yes, I'm still in shock at how easily she can just walk away. As one of my sisters-in-law put it, she's off on her broomstick to fulfill her dreams of being some poor children's wicked stepmother. Okay, that's a good one. Oh my god. A small consolation is that Eleanor's children, being a bit older than mine, 11 to 14, will likely do their utmost to make Emily's life difficult. Angel Baby Darling says, this was an infuriating read. I feel so badly for OP. His ex is despicable. Selling the family SUV because it was in her name just shocked me. It's so clear that she only cares about money and herself. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Looking forward to her karma. Yeah, how do you even explain that to the kids? Porky Pandas replies, I'd love to know where the legal line for parental alienation is when telling the kids the truth about this situation. Your mother didn't fight for custody because Jake didn't want to raise kids that weren't his. Jake fought really hard for full custody of his kids. Like, that's just cold, hard facts. Maybe those kids are a bit young for it now, but I feel like they'd be better off just never seeing her again, rather than having her randomly pop back into their lives when she finally remembers she has children of her own. Yeah, you know what? That is definitely despicable, wicked stepmother behavior right there. I really doubt we'll be getting another update on this story, so as it stands, I can only speculate what the future looks like. And it looks very grim for those kids. Oh my god, you're just abandoned by your mother. Would I want to have a relationship with a mother like that as I mature and understand the situation fully? I'd like to think no, but I get that a lot of people want that maternal connection. And will she ever actually turn around and apologize for putting her family through all of that? That's another question that I don't think we'll get an answer for, because, you know, the answer for that may be 10 or 15 years down the line from now. Really sorry that you had to go through all of that, OP. That sounds like a torturous experience, in all honesty, and I hope that you can recover and find someone that values you and won't do you dirty like this, woman. Oh my god. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I very much appreciated that. And I'd love to know what you guys, the community, have to say about all of this, now that it's pretty much wrapped up. Am I the asshole here for calling my girlfriend childish and telling her to leave after she intentionally destroyed a gift that I got for my little sister? My girlfriend Megan and I live together. She had a fight with her parents and asked if we could move in together, so we did. Not too long ago. I had to take my little sister in. I can't disclose too much, except for the fact that I was her only option. When we had the talk about me having to take my sister in, Megan did not like the idea. She told me that I was too young to have such a responsibility. What will happen when we get married and have our own kids? Our place was too small, etc., but didn't outright say that she had an issue with it. I obviously couldn't turn my back on my sister, so I went ahead with it despite her reservations. Although my sister has always been friendly to Megan from the moment she met her, Megan is always just indifferent. And it sucks because my sister really admires her and enjoys talking to her. I just thought maybe they don't connect because of my sister's age. A month ago, I bought my sister a Switch. She's always wanted one and all her friends have it, and I figured that she deserves it as she does well at school. She helps with chores and is generally a well-behaved kid. She loved it and she's been taking good care of it. Megan wasn't happy when I bought it, and she actually sulked. She would borrow the Switch incessantly, and my sister would not say no because maybe she was too afraid to? I don't know. But Megan would use it so much that it felt like it belonged to her. My sister never said anything. She would just patiently wait for her turn. Sometimes Megan would use it even when my sister was at school, saying that she gets bored when I'm at work. All of this made me uncomfortable, so I asked her to please tone it down on the Switch as it's unfair on my sister because it was her gift. Megan agreed, although it was clear that she was upset. She gave us the silent treatment for the rest of the night. Last week when I came back from picking up my sister from school after work, we found her Switch broken. And that's putting it lightly. It looked like it was deliberately smashed. My sister was distraught. When I asked Megan what the hell happened, she told us that she accidentally dropped it and it broke. It was obvious that she was lying, and when I pointed that out, and all the other times where she seemed to have an issue with an 11-year-old for no reason, she got annoyed and told me that everything was fine until my sister moved in. I called her childish and asked her to please pack her bags and go back to her parents' house because I need space and time to think. This only made her more annoyed, but she eventually left. Her best friends texted me last night to tell me that I was an asshole for kicking Megan out because on top of everything else, I know how rocky her relationship with her parents is. Does this make me an asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. She sounds vindictive and you deserve better. And OP replies, she is, and to think that I thought we had a future together. She should pay to replace the Switch. OP says she is unemployed. I'm the one who was paying rent, bills, and everything. I wonder if her parents' side of the story is different than the one that you got from her. She probably hates her parents telling her to go to college and get an effing job. If she's bored sitting at home, she can look for work to fill the time. Sebscreen says, not the asshole, she isn't your wife, she does not get a say in your decision to take your sister in. And she's quite frankly a despicable person for bullying and intentionally hurting an 11-year-old who looks up to her. On top of that, she sounds like a terrible partner too. You work and let her live rent-free and she does nothing all day but play on the Switch and bully your sister? And look at that, the first time you stand up to her BS and she already ran to her friend and is vilifying you. Dump her like radioactive waste and tell her friend to eat glass. If she cares so much, she can take on the insufferable burden that is your ex. OP replies, I spoke to her beforehand to let her know so as not to take her by surprise. I was really taken aback by her reservations, but decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Not everyone welcomes change easily, and she is an only child who doesn't understand what it's like to have siblings. But I see now that she's not a very nice person, because who would have an issue with an 11-year-old that looks up to you and is just happy to be in a stable environment? And to go as far as destroying something that she cherished and then lying about it. She just seems unstable, and I don't want her around my sister anymore. She would not survive living with her friend. She always trash talks her, shake my head. Sebscreen replies, change the locks and save any message that she sends begging or demanding to come back so she can't lie that you were abusive. Wait, her relationship with her parents is rocky? Pfft, I'd never have guessed. OP says, yup, she feels like they are too controlling, always telling her what to do. I used to feel bad for her, but now I'm convinced that she's the problem. It's good that you see it. Don't let her wheedle her way back in. For your sister's sake, you should break up. And OP says, I would never let her come back here. My sister has been through enough. She doesn't need someone like that in her life, and neither do I after seeing the kind of person that she is. I don't want to do it. I hate victim blaming, but OP, she sounds pathetic, and I don't know what you ever saw in her. Genuinely, how good was it that you allowed her to be just a homeless person just chilling in your house and taking advantage of you and your sister? Surely it was not that good. I hope you learn to set and maintain a boundary that does not allow bums around your sister, because frankly, someone like your little sister deserves better, and you deserve so much better as well. You calling her childish and telling her to leave is exactly what she deserved. Now's the time for her to go burn every bridge that she sees in front of her and hit rock bottom, and hopefully she can crawl her way out of that hole afterwards, but that is not your circus, not your monkeys. Focus on yourself, brother. And now, onto the updates. So I just wanted to write an update on what happened after I posted. When I kicked Megan out, I already knew that there was no way that our relationship could continue. After reading the comments on the post, I knew that I needed to officially end the relationship and not leave things hanging. I only said to her that I needed time to think because I wanted her to leave without a fuss, and she had already caused enough trouble. I hadn't spoken to her since what happened because I was ignoring her texts. Some of them telling me that she missed me and wanted to come back home, quote unquote. I decided to text her to arrange a meeting. She told me to come over to her friend's place because she only stayed a few days at her friend's place. When I got to her friend's place, I told Megan that the relationship is not working out for me and that it's best that we break up. I said I don't see myself getting over the fact that she intentionally destroyed something that meant a lot to my sister over her irrational jealousy. Not to mention that she never really opened up to my sister, which should have been enough for me to end the relationship then. My sister deserves to be around someone who is willing to form a relationship with her. I had the rest of her stuff and proceeded to give it to her. She started crying and pleading and then accusing me of choosing my sister over her. I clearly never really loved her. She knew that this would happen after my sister moved in. I just said to her that this is exactly why I'm breaking up with you. I also told her that she really needed to reimburse me the $300 for the Switch that she accidentally dropped because my little sister is heartbroken over it and has been sad about it ever since. She rolled her eyes and told me that she already said that it was an accident and that it's not her problem anyway since I don't want to be with her anymore. I didn't even feel like continuing to argue with her, so I told her to never contact me again and left. When I got home, I blocked her everywhere. I'm relieved that she is out of our lives, but I'm very disappointed in myself that it took something so drastic for me to see that Megan was not a good person. Detroit Smash says, change locks if you haven't already to your place. Also, probably want to get a camera for your vehicle. After she did something like that, nothing should be considered being off the table for her to do. Protect yourself and your sister for that matter. Radiant Weston says, she is more likely going to put her energy into finding a new person to glom onto. She knows that OP won't get rid of his sister, so he's not worth getting back with. Hopefully. Hopefully, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I'm sure OP hoped that the woman he dated wouldn't be terrible, and he sees where that got him. Hope isn't always enough. She showed you that she's an insecure pick-me in some imagined competition with your little sister, and you believed her. Good for you. You're an excellent brother, and I'm sure you'll find someone that makes you happy and cherishes your sister. And OP says, thank you. And to be honest, I'm not in a rush to find someone. I just want to focus on making sure my sister is alright. When asked, can OP take Megan to small claims court, OP says, it's not worth it. There is so much to factor. I can't afford to take time off to do that, work is more important, and I don't know how long it would go on. There's some other things like the fact that she keeps denying it, and I just don't want to deal with her BS anymore. OP should make sure that Megan isn't harassing his sister. OP says, I don't think she would be crazy enough to do that, but luckily she has no access to her. Yeah, in theory the small claims court is a good idea to kind of punish her for that, but really, I think it's a pick your battles thing. Is it worth the time and emotional investment and perhaps incitement of stalking and harassment from her in the future, escalating it that much with her? I think it's worth it just to cut ties and move on, accept the loss of the Switch, because that's a very minor loss in comparison to her coming in like destroying your car. If she did something like that, then I'd be like, hell yeah, take her ass to small claims court, what's wrong with her? But if anything, she just sounds like a petulant child who deserves to be ignored and moved on from. I'd just cop this one on the chin, protect your sister, and move on, OP. Thank you for the story. I'd love to know what you guys have to say about that one below. Our next post is by user Soul Slayer, and it's titled, I am completely heartbroken. So, my husband just told me he booked a flight to go golfing in a few weeks by his best friends. He never once talked to me about the dates or his plans before he booked. We've been together almost 21 years, married for 15 next weekish. My husband just spent 5 days away over Labor Day while I stayed behind with our 13-year-old. He has never done anything like this before. For context, he's incredibly cheap. We've not gone away for even a night in years, even with the kids. I wanted to get Disney tickets this summer, but he said no. No matter what I spend, he always has an issue with it. Every time I go grocery shopping, he almost always complains about how much I spend, even though it is well within the allowance. The last time we went out to eat was November 2023 with the 13-year-old. I've asked so many times to go out to dinner or something, but we never do. Recently, in an argument, I brought it up again, and he said that he doesn't like going out to eat, so why would he do it? I should consider the time that we spend on the weekends cleaning the house and doing yard work as spending time together. I don't work and have no friends or family. I feel that this is the final straw. I feel neglected, and he says that's not it. He has an unhealthy relationship with money and is always stressing over it. We don't struggle, and we live comfortably, but he was laid off years ago, and it took him 9 months to find work, and since then, he has been overly crazy about money. Our oldest is 24, and she says he has caused her so much anxiety about money that she's always worried about running out of it. He stresses about spending $5 to rent a movie. He's bothered that I want to pay for a movie service that costs $8 a month. Money is such a huge issue in our marriage. He always says we are broke. The kids have been around this, and it's so unhealthy for them to worry about finances. When our oldest was in middle and high school, she suffered drug-resistant depression and had a failed S attempt. His counselor even told him to stop talking about money, but he couldn't. We have not had a date night in years. He has attempted a few. My birthday was last month, and we were gonna go out, but we ended up shopping and working on a Halloween project together instead, which I was fine with, but the attempts are few and far between. Our 13-year-old has had anxiety and depression since COVID. She is incredibly smart, but has no drive or ambition, and misses too much school and never does homework, and lies about her homework. So it's an absolute nightmare dealing with that stress. I never get away from it. He typically works 60 hours a week, so most of that burden falls on me. The stress caused me to lose 20 pounds last May, just trying to be sure that she passed 7th grade. I have voiced and even written him a 13-page letter last spring on how I needed more from him. He said he wouldn't want his daughters to have a husband like himself in their life, and he would have a real problem with it if our oldest was marrying someone that has done some of the things that he has done to me. He is not physically abusive in any way, but has said some hurtful things out of spite over the years that he knows was wrong. I feel like I need to show my girls a good example, and how can I do that staying married to him? He has continued to ignore most of my needs of quality time and a chance to check out once in a while. My heart is breaking into a million pieces right now. I just kicked him out, and I'm not sure I made the right decision. In the comments, someone says that OP should start on getting a job and independence to get out of there. OP says, "It's not that simple. I unfortunately no longer work due to a disability. We moved to a different state 20 years ago. I had friends when I worked, but it's hard to keep friends when you have a debilitating illness and have to cancel plans. No one wants to hear about how bad you feel. We had many friends on block, but we lost a few to cancer, car accident, and stroke. Others moved away. We have a few people in our life now, but not on a personal level, if that makes sense. I drive my youngest to and from school daily as she goes to a charter school and there is no bus transportation. Right now, I couldn't possibly think of working. I'm having an exasperation of symptoms, and my doctor did a huge increase in my meds in an attempt to stabilize me. I see him next week and have only gotten weaker and big issues with my breathing. The stress doesn't help. I am disabled. I have a disease that affects my voluntary muscles. I was a single mother working when we met and going to school. It was never my intention to not work. I was advancing fast with the company that I was with when I got sick. We often have that talk of what might have been if I didn't get sick and how our lives would be better and the money that I would have brought in. Someone else asks, "Isn't OP suspecting that her husband could be cheating?" And OP says, "Yes, I am sure. We moved away 20 years ago and have not been back home in quite a long time. He had so much fun seeing his old friends, and he just wants to have that experience again." Situations like this kind of just feel completely helpless, because the more they describe their situation, it's just like, man, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But really, I think you just have to give them an ultimatum and be like, you can't keep abusing me like this. You can't go on these vacations because, it's rules for thee, but not for me. How is that fair? And I really think the only bargaining chip you do have in this situation is your marriage vows, your bond. Because it really does seem like he has all of the power in this relationship. The only real hill that you can die on is your marriage with him. And if he wants to keep going on these trips, I don't think he values your marriage all that much. So I don't even know what he would say if you put the marriage on the line. If he's cheating on you and he doesn't want to stay with you, that's a pretty grim reality, but I think it's one that you need to be prepared for and just do anyway. Because at this point, staying with him, if he's going to continue doing this, you only have more and more to lose. Really, really rough situation, and I feel so defeated in my own way for you, OP. I'm so sorry that you have to experience all of this. It's really not fair. And now, on to the update. So my husband booked a vacation for himself behind my back after we had discussed the trip and decided to book it anyway and told me days after the fact that he booked it. My husband ended up coming home to help with hurricane prep. He was supposed to only help and stay that night, but then as things got more real, he stayed as I needed help preparing the house and yard for the storm. Then we talked about evacuating and booked a hotel some 3 hours away. But the storm shifted south, so we decided to stay put. He stayed during the storm and after. We ended up doing a lot of talking, but he would not cancel the trip. I told him that he should be begging for my forgiveness, but it seemed like it was me that was fighting for this marriage. He had that trip 2 months ago where he went alone and had no responsibilities and no one to see and had a lot of fun. He just wanted to feel that again. I told him if he didn't cancel the trip, the marriage was over. I told him that he can't have his cake and do it too. I would never be able to get away with doing something like this, nor would I try. I don't understand why this trip is so important. He has been love bombing me and promised he would change and start treating me to vacations and date nights. There had been some issues in the past that I forgave, and he feels like I still can't forgive him for it. Then I don't understand why he would add to the problem. It sucks when you love someone so much and they hurt you like this. I don't want my marriage to be over, but he literally told me he would put me first after his trip. Why can't I be a stronger person and know that there is someone out there that will cherish me and love me the way that I deserve? My daughter, 13, sent him a text explaining her feelings and basically told him that he chose this trip over his family. He left on Friday and comes home today. All of his stuff is packed up and out of the house in his truck. Most he packed himself on Friday before the trip. He did miss his flight, trying to convince me that I was making a bigger deal out of this than it needed to be. I texted his brothers, sister-in-law, and the friend he's going to, basically saying that we are over and the circumstances leading up to it. I also explained the history of how he spent no date nights ever and didn't do anything for our 15-year anniversary that was almost a month ago. He told me that no one took his side, which I told him would be the case. No one in your life would treat their spouse like this. So I'm so torn as to whether I'm going to let him stay tonight or not. Heartache sucks. Live Okra says, he had the money for a solo vacation, he can cough up the money for a hotel. Don't let him stay. He's going to continue to try love bombing you and confuse you. Cut the cord and let him go. He made his choice, let him deal with the consequences. He likely was not on a solo vacation. Someone asks, has OP spoken with her husband's friends to validate his whereabouts and his stories on why he went on the trip to his hometown? OP says, his friend actually told him that if the trip was a problem, he would come down here. That's what the friend told me. My husband did talk to him and tell him he booked the trip behind my back. I know he had a heart-to-heart with his friend and the wife, as well as another friend one night. They did not take his side and gave him ideas to make it work and improve the date night situation. He has known these friends and even the wife since he was a teenager. He is definitely not cheating, and there is no one else. I can track his location at all times, and nothing is fishy. There are no weird numbers he is talking to or texting. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or what, but I think he just liked the freedom of no responsibility and partying with his best friends. He's staying with his best friend's family. I can see where he was at all times. We have location services enabled. He is not cheating. OP on why her daughter, 13-year-old, got involved. OP says, my daughter is aware because she knows he is leaving, and his family is my family, and they did side with me. In fact, my sister-in-law called me the day he left, and we talked for a long time. She called me tonight to see how his homecoming went. OP on what the trip in September was all about. He just had a mental health break in September for 5 days, while I stayed behind and cared for our dying dog that weighs 70 pounds and could no longer walk, and was peeing and pooping everywhere, and needed to be carried outside. Also, our 13-year-old that has major mental health problems, and getting her to go to school and do homework is a nightmare. We were supposed to go away for our anniversary in October, and I had to fight for him to take the 2 days vacation. We never got to because the hurricane came, and everywhere was a disaster without power. OP is being accused for involving her husband's family and her daughter into the marriage issues. OP says, I wasn't involving my daughter. Unfortunately, she knows the situation because she saw it unfold when he told me. I did not attempt to turn anyone against him. I stated that we were going our separate ways and explained what was going on. My sister-in-law has called me and we talked for a long time. This is also my family. We've been together 21 years. Whoa, 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 whoa. How is everyone glossing over the fact that OP wrote a 13-page letter to her husband about how she needed more from him? If you told me that I had to write a paper as long as possible with grievances about my partner, I think it would be like 2 paragraphs. In 16 years of schooling, I never once wrote a paper that long. I'm not sure I have a topic that I could confidently write 13 pages about without being redundant. I feel like I'm going crazy as I look back through the post and comments trying to find anyone who mentioned it. I'm genuinely baffled. 13 pages? That's gotta be the most damning evidence of a collapsed relationship I've ever seen on this sub. No wonder their 13-year-old has issues with her mental health. She has a father in the home that wants nothing to do with her or OP, and I also suspect OP's symptoms for her disease that are flaring up will calm down when the stress of the dead weight is gone. I hope OP finds a love that she longs for, cause whatever she's getting from her husband just ain't it. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot going on here, but I believe, in my biased heart of hearts, that they really should just separate and, OP gets alimony, OP gets control of her own finances, and stabilizes. Because holy camole, it's just everything she writes is just stress, 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 stress. You are going to have a heart attack. You are going to die way earlier than you should with all of the shit going on in her life. And it's not just the father that is causing the issues with the mental health of the 13-year-old. That is definitely being caused by OP as well. This is like trickle-down economics, but instead of, money, it's mental illness for everyone. I hope we get another update in the future with her saying that, they split up, she's doing better, she's figuring her life out how she can. But I don't think that's going to happen here. Time will tell, I guess. Time will tell. Anyway, thank you for the story, OP. It's a very vulnerable one that you've written, and 13 pages is a lot. I hope that you read that back and realize that that is an indication of an unsalvageable marriage. 13 pages is too much. Imagine if it's double-sided as well. Anyway, what do you guys think of this one? Let me know below. Am I the asshole for refusing to forgive my ex-best friend and other friends even after 6 years? I, 28 female, used to be best friends with Anna, 28 female, since high school. She was popular and outgoing, while I was the introverted nerdy friend. In high school, I had a crush on Ethan, 28 male, but I assumed that he would prefer Anna, so I stayed out of it. They started dating, and I supported her with reluctance because of their toxic on-and-off relationship. Over time, I grew to dislike Ethan because he was rude and mean. They broke up when we were 21, but got back together with him a year later and eventually got engaged at 23. 3 months before the wedding, Ethan drunkenly called me, asking why I rejected him. I dismissed him and said he was drunk, and then ended the call. The very next day, I was kicked out of group chats and ghosted by everyone else in our friend circle. When I texted my friends to ask what happened, they gave me the silent treatment. When I reached out to Anna, I found myself blocked. Desperate, I even tried calling Ethan, but my number was blocked too. I had no idea what I'd done wrong, and I wish anyone would tell me. That week was hell. Anna's silence hurt the most because at the time, she meant everything to me. I barely slept, battling panic attacks at night while trying to keep it together for class during the day. If not for my supportive roommates who helped me through my panic attacks, I don't know how I would have made it through. Anna and I attended the same local university, but took different courses. I waited for her outside her class. When she came out with her friends, I pulled her aside and asked what was going on. She accused me of being a fake friend who tried to steal Ethan. I denied her accusation and asked for proof, but she went silent and left. They didn't unfriend me on Facebook, but kept posting about their hangouts and the bridal shower, along with indirect jabs at me. I eventually deleted my old account and changed my number. I slowly rebuilt my self-esteem and moved on. I recently created a new Facebook account. A few days ago, I was added to a group chat for our upcoming reunion, which I had no idea about. They greeted me, calling me class president, as if they hadn't shunned me 6 years ago. I left the group, but they are messaging me. Anna kept calling, so I finally picked up out of annoyance. She told me that she was sorry for everything and wished for me to come to the class reunion party. The party didn't seem to be complete without the class president every year. She told me that she divorced Ethan after 2 years of marriage. She tried to reach out to me but couldn't find any of my socials or contact info after we graduated. I asked her why she was telling me all this when she was not important to me anymore. She cried. I ended the call and continued ignoring their messages on Messenger. My family says that forgiveness is for my own peace and that it doesn't mean forgetting, but I don't feel anything anymore, only indifference. I don't owe them anything to ease their guilt. So am I the asshole? OK Season says, if I was you, I would steer clear. The fact you said you had to rebuild yourself says a lot. For being such good friends, they sure abandoned you without even trying to see your side. They're all either dumb as hell or not worth another thought. OP says, yes, I felt deeply humiliated. My self-esteem plummeted and I felt so small. But thanks to the kindness of those around me, my roommates and coursemates, I was able to rebuild myself and rise again. But still, I want answers, but I'm afraid they're planning something or things like that, like humiliating me at the reunion party. Maybe I watch too much K-drama and C-drama. Professor Plum Did It says, quote, 3 months before the wedding, Ethan drunkenly called me, asking why I rejected him. You know what happened, right? Ethan wanted to date you, but Anna told him that you rejected his interest so he would date her, and him calling you made her feel threatened that her shady actions might be found out. So she then made up more lies that turned other friends against you. Now it's been long enough, and Ethan is no longer around, that she feels safe bringing you around again, so she hits you up. Odds are that others told her to reach out because y'all were such good friends, and if you refuse to go, she'll tell them something that makes you look bad as your reason. Regardless of whether you go or not, I'd contact someone who will be there and tell them that you won't attend because of the horrible way that Anna treated you and that you just wanted someone to know the truth so that Anna can't lie about you yet again. Don't go if you don't want to, but don't let her get away with lying about you again. OP says, whew. It's been 6 years, and I know I've healed and found better friends. My current best friends are the roommates who supported me during university. But why does it still hurt? Despite everything, I always believed my friendship with Anna was genuine. Permission West replies, it hurts because you lost your tribe and you didn't know why. The first time always hurts the worst, because you can't see it coming. As for now, keep telling her to piss off, and eventually she will. Tell her you never forgot, nothing will change the past, and that she's not a good person. You'll have to really nip it in the bud. She's looking to reinvent the past, but there's nothing good to be gained from being friends with Anna. Not anymore. And OP says, honestly, I doubt she even cares. She probably only reached out because she needed something from me. I have no interest in being friends with them anymore, but I just want to know the truth. If I ask why they abandoned me back then, would they even be honest? Or would they just shift the blame onto each other? Anna has always been the leader of their group. Whatever she says, everyone follows. I guess it really just depends then how much you care to set the record straight, because if you don't care about them, and you aren't ever going to go to any of these reunions and spend time with them, I don't know why you would waste your time defending your position if you're never going to be affected by these people. And as well, Anna is trained in shifting the narrative at this point. I don't know how well you'd do having your one shot at fixing the narrative for yourself. I don't know how well that would go. You would get your shot in there, and then Anna's been so intertwined with everyone, you don't have any evidence of your position. Anna can just twist the narrative against you again. It feels like a losing battle, does it not? There's definitely a world where you come out better for it if you do it, but the odds of that happening, I just don't see it. And now, onto the update. Just a quick disclaimer, I created my Facebook account 2 weeks ago after mustering the courage from my past trauma. I used fake names and ages for anonymity. In reality, we are all 29. My friendship with Anna fell apart when I was 23. And now 6 years later, we're 29. I know no one has noticed this so far, but I just wanted to clarify. Some people from my previous post suggested that I reach out to Ethan. However, before I could do so, he reached out to me first. Yesterday, I received a friend request from him, along with a message from him saying hi in my messenger. So, we talked. He invited me out for a coffee this weekend so we can talk about it, and I told him not to push his luck and just answer me. I asked him about his call that night. Since most boys were too intimidated to approach me, they often asked Anna to convey their feelings to me. Ethan was one of them. Apparently a lot of boys had a crush on me back then, but at that time, only Anna received open confessions, so I assumed I was undesirable. Not that it mattered to me. I was foolishly infatuated with Anna, so much so that I would have rolled out a red carpet for her to walk on if I could. She was my entire world back then. Not even once have I ever heard about any boys in high school liking me from Anna. Apparently Anna would always come back to them with her apologetic face, telling them that I had rejected them, and repeating the insults I had supposedly said about them. No wonder some people back in high school called me arrogant and dislike me for some reason. I just thought that it was because I was a strict class president and student committee member. Unlike Anna, who was friendly and charming, I was strict, sharp-tongued, and rarely smile. I don't owe anyone a smile. Boss. Ethan explained that he was mean to me back then because Anna told him that I had said that he was an orphan abandoned by his parents. This was a particularly sensitive topic for him, as he had been raised by his grandparents since childhood. He later discovered the truth when Anna inadvertently admitted it during an argument. That moment led him to file for divorce. Ethan said that he genuinely did love Anna, but her constant insecurity and habit of bringing up my name in every argument strained their relationship. She either accused Ethan of still thinking about me or compared him to me. Anna did find out about Ethan's drunken call that very same night. They had an argument, and Ethan came close to calling off the wedding, but Anna guilt-tripped him into staying. Neither Ethan nor Anna lied or twisted the story. Anna simply told our entire friend group to stop talking to me. They knew that I hadn't done anything wrong, but somehow it was still my fault that Ethan had unresolved feelings towards me. I was, and still am, an introvert, and most of my friends back then were hers. It wasn't surprising that they followed her lead when she turned against me. They were always her friends, and not mine. Anna and my ex-classmates then painted me as a villain to the other friends from high school. Ethan didn't do anything to help me because he was manipulated to hate me. His words, not mine. That is why I changed my number and deleted all of my social media accounts. While no one directly bombarded me with mean messages, I constantly saw posts that seemed to be aimed at me, even though my name was never mentioned. Ethan only revealed everything to the other friends after his divorce with Anna was finalized. Now, Anna and my ex-classmates are the ones being shunned by the others since 2 years ago. Ethan said he owed me an apology, though he knew that it wouldn't be enough after everything that happened. While he never smeared my name, he stood on the sidelines and did nothing simply because I rejected him and called him an abandoned orphan during high school. He asked me if I'll be going to the upcoming reunion party. Turns out the reunion party this time was for the 1995 high school batch. My ex-classmates probably wanted their former class president to attend for appearances. I told him that I won't go. He said that I can sit with him and his ex-classmates if I wanted to. But why would I? Brother, ew. I told him that I wouldn't be attending because I have no friends from high school. He mentioned that the others would be sad if I heard that I said that, but well, screw them. I received a lot of messages from old friends, but I didn't respond to any of them. I have no attachment towards them. I told Anna that Ethan already told me everything. She called me on Messenger again, sobbing. She admitted that she might have been a terrible friend, but that she did care about me. All those years, I was always on her mind. I was too attached to her back then because she was my first real friend, as I had no friends in middle school. I was too shy and quiet, so I couldn't make friends. Anna taught me how to make friends and overcome my social anxiety and introduce a lot of people to me. I learned to cook for her and take care of her when she was sick. I even protected her from creeps. Everything I did was for her. Now that I think about it, it was kind of unhealthy. Maybe she wanted me to be that version of myself again, only for her convenience. She begged me to try again, that she would be a better person for me. But I just ended the call and blocked her. After a few minutes of contemplating, I decided to delete my Facebook account again. I have a feeling that if I didn't, they would keep on bothering me. I'll settle with a fake account. The main reason why I made my account is to play Harvest Town anyway. Sorry for the long post. This will be my one and only update. I want to thank the 4 people who personally messaged me on Reddit. Your messages meant a lot, as not many people have done so much for me in my life. I hope my update answered your questions. Farewell. In the comments, Corfers74 asks, did you tell Ethan that you used to have a crush on him, and Anna did everything to stop you from getting together? That's so messed up. OP says, no, I don't want him to be stuck with the what-ifs. It's better if he doesn't know. Horny Rebels says, it's brave of you to confront your past. You're not obligated to forgive anyone. Prioritize your own peace and build healthy relationships moving forward. And OP replies, thank you. I really do feel indifferent now. It's been 6 years, and I have better friends now. I'm content with my life. Educational Gas 92 says, hi OP, glad to see that you're doing okay, and happy to see what many people suspected was right. The only strange thing about this is why is anyone interested in a long-lost high school classmate while nearing 30? I mean, it makes sense if they live in a small town and people simply stumble on each other all the time, but otherwise, it's not that strange that they reached out, but once you made it clear that you aren't interested, they should just move on. Anyways, good luck OP, and keep toxic and fake people away. OP says, 1995 batch from my high school is a close-knit group, and we all know each other well. Or they just want crumbs of the drama. It's Omi Bro says, thumbs up, you were strong mentally, and OP replies, thanks, I was a mess back then. Thankfully, my roommates at the time stayed by my side and even threw away the alcohol I bought. I was planning to be a drunk mess, but they wouldn't even let me. I, for one, am glad that OP didn't go down the becoming an alcoholic to fight the demons pipeline that some people fall down. Glad to see that you did talk things out with Ethan and kind of set the story straight with him too, because he's the only one that you can really bounce evidence off of. You still weren't trying to prove anything to that group of 1995 close-knit people. Hell yeah, brother. I don't think you have anything to prove to them. I don't think you need to defend yourself. Again, I'm glad that you had that conversation with him because he probably will go and sort that out with everyone else, and Anna will look like the piece of shit that she is. Because she deserves to be called out for what she did and shamed for it. Thank you for the story, OP. I very much appreciate it, and I'm glad that you're just moving on from this like you should and leaving all of that in the past where it belongs. I would love to know the community's thoughts on this one down below in the comments, though. Please spill your guts. Our next post is by user NoBathroom4158, titled, Am I the asshole here for no longer hanging out with my niece and nephew because their mum moved on from my brother's death? Around 7 months ago, my brother passed away and left behind his wife, his son who was 10, and his daughter who was 8. My brother and I always had a close bond, and I was also a really close uncle to my niece and nephew. When my brother passed away, everyone took it really hard. My sister-in-law was inconsolable, and my immediate priority was just to be there for my niece and nephew and help them through this tough time. Last month, however, as I was heading over to their house, I saw my sister-in-law kissing some guy as he was dropping her off. I was shocked. I knew that she was going through grief, but I didn't expect her to move on so quick. When she saw me, she said she'd been seeing him for a couple of weeks through a dating app. I didn't really blame her for how she was processing her grief, but I just felt really sad for my brother's memory. I decided that I no longer wanted to be with her kids and hang out with them. My sister-in-law has messaged me many times since, asking why I'm no longer coming over, and she said she would even stop dating or seeing that guy if it meant I could be with her kids, as they really miss me. However, I told her that it's not my life, and that she should feel free to date whenever and whoever she wants. But I just can't be in her house anymore, and I need to process my own grief. Am I the asshole here? Independent Lychee says, my mum passed away 30 years ago. My aunts used to come over every night for coffee when she was alive. When she passed away, they all said that it hurt too much to come to the house and have coffee with my sister and I. It was like we were being punished, or like we didn't matter anymore. They were so consumed with their loss. They didn't care about how empty me and my siblings were, and how we really needed them at that time. Less Volume says, ugh, I unintentionally did this to my grandpa after my grandma died, and it's one of my biggest regrets. By the time I had processed my grief, and it wasn't too painful to go over there, he was also on the way out. I got a few short months with him before he, too, was gone. They were both young, in their 60s, so I never thought that I'd lose them so soon. I've never really forgiven myself. Claire's Raccoon says, grief is different for everyone. Your niece and nephew are the only piece of your brother that you have now. Hopefully you can get to a point where you're ready to resume that relationship with them. And to top it off, those innocent kids should never be punished for the actions and decisions of their mum. Ask yourself, would your late brother be happy that you distanced his kids? Find a way around it and give those kids the attention and care that they deserve from you as their uncle. If you don't want to spend time in her house, consider arranging to pick up the kids so you can spend time with them. They just lost their father, and now they probably feel like they lost you too. I don't want to call you an asshole because you're grieving, but I feel bad for those kids. You say you've always been close with them. You led them to believe that you would be there for them, and now you're just abandoning them when they need you the most. I just don't get how you can do that to the kids. Now they've lost another adult in their life that they loved. Yeah, I started off my judgments going like, you know what, I understand, you are more than welcome to your feelings, absolutely. You take all the time you need to grieve and just cool off and come back when you're ready. And while that is valid, and it's absolutely right, I won't back down from that, I think you should have a bit of empathy for the children also, and make a compromise with yourself for them. As everyone has pointed out, what you are doing is unnecessarily cruel to the kids who have already lost so much. If you don't ever change your stance on what your sister-in-law is doing, and just never come back to support those kids, how is that going to reflect on you in the future? How is that going to affect your relationship with those two kids that are the closest thing you have to your brother? I just think that, yeah, you should take the advice of the comments, have a lie down, and not make rash decisions while consumed by emotion. I think you would be the asshole for no longer hanging out with your niece and nephew, though I would understand why you did do it. I just think there's better ways around this. And now, on to the updates. Hey everyone, just a quick update. I do realize after reading the comments that I let my emotions get the better of me, and my niece and nephew did nothing to deserve this, and this is not what my brother would have wanted for his kids. They are already going through a tough time, and I shouldn't have abandoned them like that. I spoke with my sister-in-law and told her that I was willing to take her kids to do outdoor activities, or she could drop them off at my house, or I could pick them up from her house. I, however, told her that I would never step foot in her house ever again, and that it had nothing to do with her. I just needed to process my grief. My sister-in-law apologized a lot and told me she wouldn't date, and she asked again many times if I could come inside their house. I told her that it had nothing to do with her, and there was no reason to apologize. She did nothing wrong, and her dating life was none of my business. My sister-in-law did cry a lot after that, and I told her that it's okay, and it sucks that life has been like this. That's probably my only update. Thanks everyone for the advice. In the comments, Traveler says, I'm glad you realized that the kids shouldn't suffer more. I would suggest going to grief counseling to work through your grief and your feelings, especially your reaction to finding out your sister-in-law was dating. Saying, I won't come in right now, I need some space to process my feelings, not sure how long, is one thing, but saying, I will never step foot in your house again because she kissed another man 8 months after your brother's death is overdramatic and definitely comes off as trying to make her feel bad for processing loss in her way. Though it's good to be emotional and needing space, declaring never and making such a permanent statement is likely fueled by being hurt and not rational thinking. Flinflan Fluddle says, oh, FFS, you'll never step foot in her house again? What the hell is wrong with you, man? You have a woman promising she won't effing date ever again, so you don't completely abandon her while she's grieving and trying to keep moving forward in life. Can you honestly answer whether you thought you were going to inherit your brother's kids and his wife? Because that's what it sounds like. You're mad at her for acting on attraction to another man. Think about that. She's single and widowed, and she's not your wife to control. You're acting like a toddler. As I said in your first post, I actually think you'd be an awful role model to these kids if you teach them your sexist, dehumanizing beliefs. Beagle Girl replies, "That's what I got from the post. He's upset that she's not looking at him for support or something more. He's overreacting and using his brother's kids as pawns. Like, well, if you don't like me and don't want me to be that person my brother was for you, then screw you and the kids." I think maybe, just maybe that's a little bit of a reach, because we don't know why he's thinking that way. That's one of the possible ways that he could be approaching this situation, and I'd like to know why he decided that after all is said and done, he's never going to step foot inside the house. Because from the way the post is worded, it seemed like you were fine with stepping foot inside the house until you saw her kissing another man. And now it's, "I'm never coming inside." So I can see why people are drawing, that conclusion from this one situation. People in the comments are going to be like, well, Reddit overreacting once again. But what is the counter-argument to this one? That's what happened. Do we have to force OP to come back on here and, tell us the exact reason? And are we going to trust OP to be a reliable narrator and not that he genuinely does feel that way, but it's too embarrassing to say that on the internet? I don't know. I personally want to cut these last commenters some slack because it really, to me, and I'm always biased, okay? It really does appear that way. OP's got some weird logic going on. But hey, not my circus, not my monkeys. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I hope it all works out in the end for you. My boyfriend uninvited me to Thanksgiving with his family. Why? His mum invited me to their family's Thanksgiving. It's a 4-day event where the entire family gets an Airbnb and has giant dinners. They also go do fun events together during these 4 days. My boyfriend is okay with me going to the dinners that aren't on actual Thanksgiving Day, and he's fine with me going to the events. However, he does not want me to go to the actual Thanksgiving dinner. He told me that he wants me to spend Thanksgiving with my own family, and that sometimes his mum forgets that other people have families too. The thing is, though, I don't have a family Thanksgiving to go to. My mum will be out of the country, and my sister will be at my dad's house. I am not welcome there. I told my boyfriend this, thinking he would then say, "Oh, I didn't know. Okay, you can come to my family's Thanksgiving." However, he did not say that. He just gave me a face of sympathy and then continued to watch Family Feud on the TV. I find this strange, and I'm trying to understand why he would want to go solo to the Thanksgiving. I've had casual dinners with his family and was his +1 for his sister's wedding. Why would he uninvite me? Jackie999 says, "Well, to be honest, his mum invited you, so he can't really uninvite you. He also doesn't get to tell you who you should be spending any day with. It would forever be useful to know if he just doesn't want you there, but that doesn't make sense if he's fine with you attending the rest of it. I'd just be saying, since your mum already invited me, and I have nowhere else I can go, I'll be there. Let him tell you why he doesn't want you there if that's the case. He can put his own efforts to communicate his thoughts instead of making you guess." Lightness Being replies, "Or you can ask his mum if he doesn't give you a straight answer. With my ex-boyfriend, his mum was really good and warned me seriously that he wasn't a straight-up guy. I didn't listen because he had already told me that he was the family's scapegoat and his mum didn't respect him. But I really wish I did." Edit, he wasn't the family scapegoat. He was the black sheep and an opportunistic, unfaithful, thieving, conniving conman. He used to joke to his mum, every time she was forgetful, that it must be pillow time, while creeping close to her and miming pushing a pillow over her face. I used to kind of laugh, but it gives me the shivers now. He regularly tried to convince his parents to build him a house on their grounds so he could look after them in their old age. They firmly refused. I mean, would you say yes? He married his affair partner, who became disabled and wheelchair-bound, then she died unexpectedly at only 36. Oh my god, that's the real story today. What is going on there? Hey mum, pillow time. Yeah, it's so funny to mime murdering you. Oh, my affair partner unexpectedly died at 36? What a twist. Jesus Christ. E. Doyle 2021 says, "You've got to talk to him and just be very direct. It's strange that he knows that you don't have a family dinner to go to. His mum invited you, and he doesn't want you to go. You could say, hey boyfriend, you know that I don't have a family to be with on Thanksgiving. Why did you uninvite me to your family's Thanksgiving, but it's okay if I participate in other activities that are not on Thanksgiving?" Then just sit back and really listen to his answer. Really listen. Think about what he's saying and take your time to respond. I would even have this conversation again in front of his mum just to reaffirm the answers that he gives to you. I know we shouldn't attribute malice to what could easily be stupidity, but I, in my heart of hearts, want to believe that he's being a malicious individual here. The fact that you had to bring this up to him and tried to get an answer out of him and he's like, oh yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go back to watching Family Feud. That's stone cold. What's wrong with him? Are you gonna be unexpectedly dying at 36 as well? Have you got 10 years left to live? I think at the end of the day, we just need to force some transparent communication out. We need to force some reasons out of this fella's brain to come to a genuine understanding together. I don't think this is something to break up with him over. That would be insane. I think there are some miscommunications going on, and if you guys just take the time to talk this one out, I'm sure you can figure something out and get him to see reason. And now, onto the update. So I took the advice of the lovely Reddit users, and I talked to him directly. I am now back to being invited to his family's Thanksgiving, and I will be going. His reason for uninviting me was, he didn't want my mum to be upset with him for taking me away during a holiday. He was imagining that she would be alone if I went to his family's Thanksgiving. Why he didn't re-invite me the moment I told him, while he was watching TV, that my mum was going to be out of the country, he was surprised and brain-farted. The end. Side note, I really did not appreciate all the comments saying that he's cheating on me. Belmont Incident says, and once again, the solution was asking directly. That's about 40% of all interpersonal issues. I Am Corona Board says, huh? What's that? Communication is critical to a healthy relationship? This sub would be bereft of content if folks knew that already. Stop it. Stop with the hard truths, Corona Board. We can't be having that. Organic 2003 says, this is Reddit. We can find cheating under any rock. I'm glad that it worked out. Have fun and love. Arcanium Guardian AWC says, I don't think he's cheating, he just doesn't want her there. Either he doesn't want to entertain her, or he's thinking of ending things, or someone in his family dislikes her. Something's up though. You don't forget what you're debating mid-sentence when someone shoots down your argument. Yeah, I got the vibe that someone will be at Thanksgiving that he didn't want her to meet, or he wanted a day off from her. Those were comments that were made after the update as well. They sound like they were made before the update, and as you can see, people will still fish for reasons as to why he was in the wrong. So yeah, I would like to know what his thought process was from the get-go, because it was weird that he got so defensive, but I'm glad that everything worked out in the end. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate it, and I'd love to know what you guys thought of this one down in the comments below. Our next post is by user OKButterfly3820, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my wife that she's just as racist as her parents? I, 53 male, am white. My wife of 30 years, Naomi, is Japanese. We have 3 kids. This story focuses on my oldest son, Kyle, 28. When Kyle first got to college, he began dating a Japanese girl, and when he introduced her to my wife, Naomi loved her. They didn't end up working out, but for the past 3 years, my son has been seeing Danny, a black girl. My son was in medical school across the country, and he ended up meeting Danny because they were both volunteers at a soup kitchen. I remember the first time he sent a picture of her, my wife immediately didn't like her. I'm going to try to phrase this without sounding ignorant myself, but she looks like the urban black girl that most think of when they think of African American women. She has the big hoop earrings, the long nails, the long eyelashes. I think she looks stunning, but I've never been in a situation where I was involved in African American culture. Recently, my son moved back to our city for residency, and Danny moved with him and started law school. They were staying in an Airbnb while looking for a place, and this week they finally found one. So they invited us over for dinner. Danny cooked soul food, and this stuff was amazing. I complimented her food, and my wife gave me the side eye. Naomi then pulled out her phone and asked Danny why does she dress like that, and why was she twerking in public. Oh no, Jesus. I'm dying. Why would you ask that? I'm dying. Kyle asked his mum what her problem was. I then took the phone to scroll through Danny's Instagram, and while she did have some videos of her having fun, she also had plenty of pictures of her academic achievements. Someone gotta sort Naomi out, oh my god. Before Danny could answer, I told my wife that Danny is young and having fun. I asked her if she saw that Danny graduated cum laude or all the times that she volunteered. My wife looked angry that I would bring that up. Naomi then said that she thinks Danny isn't good enough for our son. Wow, honestly, OP, how dare you defend Danny in this situation? She could single-handedly walk to the moon, but that still wouldn't be good enough for Naomi. Oh my god. Danny then asked why Naomi loved Kyle's ex so much. She didn't graduate with honors. She has many different boys that she's posted on social media. Danny then said that it's evident the reason that Naomi doesn't like her is because of her race. Naomi doubled down and said, so what? Ooh. I've never heard Kyle even disrespect his mother, but he told her to get the F out. Naomi left crying. In the car on the ride home, I asked her what was her problem. She asked why I didn't defend her. I said because she was being a racist and a hypocrite, and she's acting just like her parents. Her parents didn't like me because I was white. She just said that it's different, and was just silent on the way home. And when we got to the house, she locked herself in the room and started crying. I can't feel bad for her because if someone disrespected my wife the way that she disrespected Danny, I would have absolutely did the same exact thing that Kyle did. But am I the asshole because I was also harsh towards her in this situation? Comments where OP has replied, not the asshole, not to pry, but you've obviously been with your wife for 20 plus years. How's it possible that you didn't know that she's virulently racist until now? OP says, there was never a situation where we were directly involved with African Americans. She's never displayed this type of behavior. Racism is not a preference, and it's not even about her, it's about my son. Supporting racism is something I'll never do. That's not why I asked this. I'm never going to be sympathetic towards her. I asked if it was too harsh, not if I was wrong. This is a horrible mentality, and at the end of the day, my wife is apparently racist. I'm not about to try and understand that. That's crazy. Could I have been kinder? Absolutely. Could I understand where she's coming from? Absolutely not, especially given our situation. I've had contact with plenty of black people. They have never been intricately involved in our lives. Like her siblings never dated black people, and neither has anyone in my family. The closest person would be my middle child's best friend, and they didn't really connect until the middle of high school. Ches2202 says, not the asshole. You stood up for your son and for Danny. You did the right thing. Twixie Lux says, agree, not the asshole. You defended your son and Danny, which was the right thing to do. You didn't let your wife's behavior slide and called it out. Sea Marble says, not the asshole. I wish you had asked her how it was different and to explain to you why her parents not liking you was racist, but her not liking Danny is not. Dolly Wood Dude says, actually, when she was called out, she doubled down and said, so what? Opie's wife isn't denying being racist, she just doesn't care that she is. She wants her husband to be racist against Danny too. And I agree with that. Like, it's so obvious that she wants OP to support the racism. She said, so what? She's like, yeah, I'm racist. What are you going to do about it, huh? Don't clip that out of context, please. It's just insane that she expects her husband, who was the victim of racism from her parents, to then turn around and support her racism towards others. I understand there are many examples of people existing like that, but it's just so insane. It's so insane that people expect their double standards to not apply to them. Like, it was okay for my parents to be racist to you. That's different. I expect you to be racist towards our son's girlfriend. That is not different. What are you talking about, you freak? You absolute freak, Naomi. So no, you're not the asshole for telling your wife that she's just as racist as her parents. You're trying to point it out so that she stops, and she refuses to stop. I don't know what options you're left with if she doesn't change her behavior and apologize. And now, onto the updates. So I want to mention a couple of things. First off, I have been around black people. They were never part of my inner circle until Danny came along. Also, I think it's stupid that twerking has a negative connotation. It's just dancing, and the video that my wife found, Danny was at a nightclub. She wasn't at a church dancing that way. My daughter Ari and her mum are very close. So I asked her to breakfast today, and we talked. I just asked her if she knew her mum to be racist. She asked why, and I told her about the incident with Danny. Ari told me everything makes sense now. She said that it was subtle, but when she was in high school, she lost a chess match to a Hispanic boy, and Naomi said that he must have cheated. But during another round, when she lost to a white girl, her mum just said that she was really good. She listed a few other incidents, but it was hard to see Ari come to the realization that her mum is not who she thought she was. Ari then explained how this is bad because Kyle told her how he was about to propose soon. I guess Ari talked to her before I could, because my wife asked how can I bring the kids into this argument. I said this argument is about their brother. Our kids are very close, so they were going to find out eventually. I said since she's done crying, does she want to explain what last night was about? She said that it's not that serious. I thought about how if my son and Danny got married and had kids, I wouldn't be involved if I chose to stay with Naomi, and that's not a chance I was willing to take. So I packed my bag and told Naomi that if she's not even willing to talk to me, I can't stay in this relationship. She said stop before I left out the door and started crying again. She admitted to having racist tendencies. She also admitted that she's jealous of Danny. She said she was supposed to succeed like her and be smart like her. She said it's not fair. I said it was fair. Growing up, my wife was not poor or had it hard by any means. She had access to tutors, the best schools, and I said that's a sad and pathetic excuse. She then said that she was losing both of us to Danny. I asked how. She talked about how I complimented Danny's cooking but don't like Japanese food. I explained how I'm just not a fan of Japanese food, but I will eat it when she makes it. But it can't be about the food because she already had a problem before we got there. I told her that I'm leaving, and that until she changes her ways or gets help, I'm not coming back. And I'm getting a divorce if she doesn't apologize to Danny and mean it. I've just been driving around since that conversation, and I'm hurt that the love of my life is not who I thought she was. Virgo Girl 1984 says, she doesn't even see what she did wrong, shake my head. She's going to lose her son because she can't see past skin color, and apparently this has been going on for a long time. Val Nair says, she's going to lose her son and husband, and at what point does the risk factor not wake a person up and make them realize that persecuting based on skin color just isn't worth it? Echo Neko says, unfortunately this could make her double down. She's already started down that path in the post too. Yup, because she's not thinking, my behavior has damaged my relationships. She's thinking, that woman is taking my son and my husband. Frozefoot says, she's still blaming Danny. She's still refusing to reflect and take responsibility for her actions. Her own kids are not on her side. She is still an asshole. And the worst part is, She defied her own parents when they were racist about OP and still can't see that she's going to lose everything. And Tracy Lou says, your wife is clearly all about the excuses and woe is me attitude instead of just facing her judgmental and racist tendencies she has. You've done everything you can. It's totally on her now to sort her issues out. If she doesn't and is willing to lose you and her son, then it's on her shoulders. And I completely agree with that. She is crying and trying to get you to talk to her and hear her out, but she's not making any change in her life. She says, why isn't my manipulation working? Why aren't you doing what I'm telling you to do? Why can't you just see things from my own racist eyes, huh? What's wrong with you? Because it's obvious that Naomi doesn't see anything wrong with her worldview. If she does lose OP and the son and anyone else in her life as well, that's entirely her fault, and she has no one else to blame because she's had ample time to change her ways. She has been given opportunity after opportunity. Much like she's angry at Danny for Danny being successful like she thinks she should have been successful, she had the time and opportunity to do that for herself, and she chose not to. Does she still not have the time and opportunity to go to law school and excel like she feels like she should? It's all just excuses, deflection, and just, oh, woe is me, the world is against me. I don't blame you if you divorce her, OP. She deserves it. As always, thank you for the stories. I very much appreciated them. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say about this one down in the comments below. Let me know.